Steamy Southern California here, Fontana, California to be exact. Auto Club Speedway getting set for the Pepsi 500. Take a look at our starting grid. The top three qualifiers are California natives. Jimmie Johnson picked up his fourth pole of the year. A.J. Allmendinger collected his career best start of second. And there's Jeff Gordon, the three-time winner here, starting third tonight. Now, while you watch to see where your favorite driver will start, let's visit with our in-race reporter, Carl Edwards, driver of the Aflac Ford, who starts way back in 26th tonight.
Carl, Dale Jarrett, the ESPN. You have a copy?
I got you, Dale.
Hey, Carl, is there a more difficult race with all of the changing conditions you will encounter in these next 500 miles?
Man, I don't know. I don't think there's one that I'm more nervous about the setup on. You know what I mean? You said it. This thing's going to change a lot. You know, right now it's so hot and slick, and it's going to be a lot different in 2 or 3 hours.
All right, Carl, our second question is from our ESPN mailbag from Terrence in Dallas, Texas. What makes this track so different from Michigan, a track where you just won?
I don't know. You know, this thing seems to have, the seams are a little bit different. You know, where the pavement changes banking, it seems to be, it upsets the car a little bit more here, and it's way slicker. There's something about the way they put this asphalt down. I like them both, but I really like this track at the beginning of the race for how slick it is.
All right, Carl, thanks again for being our reporter again tonight. Now, Andy's going to talk with your crew chief, Bob Osborne.
Well, don't go so easy on him, Andy.
No, I'm not, Carl. Hey, Bob, it's Andy up here. You got us?
Andy, how you doing?
Hey, Bob, I noticed you guys picked a pit right in front of that 18 car. What went into that decision?
Actually, it's the pit stall, the team right in front of us, but a little bit of pressure for our boys against that 18 team. That's a real strong team there. Our guys can match up to them and know we're doing it, having a good day.
Did you let Carl enter into that decision-making process?
No, he actually he found out after the fact, but he enjoys the competition too. Nice friendly competition. We're enjoying it. I hope they're enjoying it. We're going to have a good, good race here.
Okay, Bob. You and Carl have a nice race tonight. Good luck.
Thanks a lot, Andy.
A little bit of in-your-face mano-mano on pit road. That should be fun to watch tonight. We'll take you inside the action throughout the evening with 8 high-definition onboard cameras. In fact, 6 of these cameras are inside Chase Contenders cars. Remember, there are just 2 races remaining until the chase begins. And so let's take a look at the point standings. We've already noted 2 drivers are locked in, and at least 3 more should be able to make it in with decent runs here tonight. But the question is, what about the scenarios for the other 7 drivers? Let's break it down for you, starting in the pits with Dave Burns.
Well, 2 guys that are in but are not safe are Denny Hamlin and Clint Boyer, Doc. They are 11th and 12th in the points, and they need this week to end like last week ended. Hamlin finished 3rd, Boyer finished 7th. Those were solid runs. What they need at the start of this race is patience. They both qualified outside the top 20, and they need to be very careful at the start of this race as everyone jockeys for position. Jamie?
Well, Dave, there's 2 guys that still have a legitimate shot of making the top 12. In 13th, young David Reagan. He doesn't have a lot of experience under pressure situations like this, but he has been more consistent than Clint Boyer and Casey Kane. Now, on the flip side, Casey Kane, he has a lot of experience, and he's also won here back in 2006. Now, he may sit 14th right now, but he knows how to race his way into the chase. We'll see if experience plays in tonight. Let's go to Shannon Spake.
Well, Jamie, currently there are 5 drivers in the top 12 who have not won yet this season. And for those 5 drivers, they have one thing on their mind here tonight: winning, and the 10 extra bonus points that goes along with the win. Now, for 4-time Cup champion Jeff Gordon, he said just this week that if that team wants to be competitive in the chase, they must win a race, and they must win now. And Jeff Gordon said that 24 team is going to do whatever it takes to get to victory lane. Mike Massaro?
Well, Shannon, if your focus is on the race within the race, you need to look no further than this particular section of pit road. Just behind me, that's Carl Edwards' pit box. Where I'm standing, this is Kyle Busch's pit box. The apparent top 2 seeds heading into the chase, pitting only inches apart. There'll be no secrets on pit road. Each will know what they're doing, pit stop after pit stop. There'll also be no conservative racing. As Bob Osborne told me earlier this week, they're here for one reason: to collect bonus points, win the race, and perhaps take that rivalry to the next level, Doc.
Thank you, guys. And by the way, there's been an animal sighted on pit road. Actually, it is Alex Animal Yanchuk. There he is, Alex, and he will take us over the wall, the front tire carrier for Dave Blaney's crew there for Bill Davis Racing. Yeah, we're going to be Get watching his action. This race tonight, oh, they are ready to draw here. 500 miles, 250 laps. There's the pit road speed in the pit window.
Yeah, they can go about 40, 45 laps on fuel here with these cars, making a lot of power here. Long straightaways, in the gas a lot here.
We told you who we think who the favorites are. What about the dark horses tonight?
I don't know if he's a dark horse because he's starting on the front row, but I like A.J. Allmendinger. This team has really come together. A.J. is doing a great job. Yeah, he only has a top 10 finish this year. I think that he might get his career best finish here tonight.
You're on the right track, Dale. I picked his teammate, Brian Vickers. He ran a great race last night. He likes these big racetracks where he can use a lot of throttle. I think Brian Vickers is going to have a great finish.
Lots of love for the Red Bull team. That would be interesting. And by the way, A.J. Allmendinger trying to make sure he can get a ride for 2009. He hasn't been signed as of yet. We'll talk about that as the night evolves. Well, in 16 years of NASCAR Sprint Cup racing here, no one has ever won this race from the pole. Jimmie Johnson won last year from the outside front row, the only guy to do it from the front row. Can he make history tonight as Johnson, the California native, leads him down to the green flag here at Auto Club Speedway? Still side by side with Johnson. 2-by-2. Looks like a drafting lap at Talladega.
Yeah, I can't tell you enough how slick this racetrack is and how difficult the first part of this race is for these guys. You know, they don't have these cars really set up for this time of the race, and they kind of set them up here to hang on as much as they could to get to the night and be fast.
I'm really impressed with A.J. Allmendinger right there on the outside of Jimmie Johnson. Got a great start. Kind of drafting by him getting in the corner here.
Yeah, there's a shocker. The first guy to get sideways on lap 1 was the 18 of Kyle Busch. He's being a little aggressive early.
I'll tell you, every one of these cars are just on the ragged edge. They're all sideways to a degree. Some of them just show up more than others.
Yeah, we're going to see guys running down on the white line with left sides below the white line, and then we're going to see some in the middle and all the way up against the wall in this first part of this race.
Last night, we saw cars running with all 4 tires below that white line looking for grip.
The big question last night was how would the racetrack evolve? Everyone thought it would get tighter, but you heard all the drivers say during countdown that the track got looser and looser as the night evolved.
That seems to be one thing that's changed a lot this year is these cars, during the weekend, it seems like they just get looser and looser and looser all the way up to race time and even during the race.
Yeah, and you'd like to say maybe it's a product of this car, but those were obviously nationwide cars. I think it has more to do with the tire that Goodyear developing now, that they've taken a lot of that push away from it.
We mentioned Carl Edwards starting in the back of the pack in 26th position. And for you Carl Edwards fans, I know what you're thinking. Folks, he started 27th at Michigan and led the most laps and won the race, so don't worry.
We heard him talk about he thought this first part of this race was going to be a lot of fun. He obviously likes that slick scenario, and he thinks that he can make up a lot of ground in this part. We see got a left front tire down for Jamie McMurray.
Yeah, left front. Must have made some contact with someone.
The inside, outside, hold it, now to the bottom,
Just one thing about this new car.
All right, for the fender are pretty good.
It seems like those splitters really are hard on the tires, and anytime they touch, it really is.
We're coming, yellow's out. If you can stay out there without getting lapped, it'd be better to stay out. I don't know what you got.
Nope. I believe I get that car in.
I think I need to come in and get left side. I don't think I'll get lapped.
Yeah, they need to get that car on pit road right now.
Yeah, I think they actually have plenty of time to get all 4 as long as they can get that left side jacked up. Yeah, and you wonder maybe why Jamie McMurray didn't get down on the apron of the racetrack. Your thinking becomes a little bit, hey, if this tire's going to come apart.
What we got here, and we'll go.
If this tire's going to come apart, then come apart on the racetrack, and so I can get a caution because I need some help right here.
This has always been Jamie's best racetrack. 3 top 5s and 5 top 10s. Talked to him early in the week. He was so excited about what could happen here tonight. But here in lap 3, he brings out the first yellow flag of the night, and he will come down to try to get that left front tire off.
Saw a lot of sparks coming out from under the car. He's got to hope he doesn't have a sway bar arm or something that's around him too.
5 laps in, we are under caution for the first time here tonight. Welcome back to the Pepsi 500. We are under caution here. Caution coming out on lap number 3. The right front tire, left front tire for the 26 car, Jamie McMurray, an issue. He has been on and off pit road, as have 16 other cars that have been on pit road. Regan Smith, one of the early cars to come on, along with Kevin Harvick, Matt Kenseth, and a host of others. Marcus Ambrose. There's the tire, what's left of that Goodyear Eagle.
There's Jamie McMurray back on the racetrack. He's got some damage to the front there, a little bit to the splitter. If he can keep it, looks like it's on the ground though. He may have one of those braces that are broke loose. They're going to have to get that fixed.
He has been on and off of pit road twice. Now for the third time to try to get some of those braces repaired. We've been watching the impressive run, qualifying run, and early run of A.J. Allmendinger. With more, here's Shannon.
Yeah, guys, A.J. Allmendinger right now battling the same problems that he had in practice this weekend. He's just a little tight center off. You know, after that qualifying run, that great qualifying run for that 84 team, A.J. Allmendinger said everyone on the team was so excited they felt as if they had already won the race. But they did want to make sure that they were not too confident coming into this race because, of course, they know it's very long and anything can happen. A.J. Allmendinger just trying to stay in that top 35 in points. Dave?
Trying to race his way into chase contention is Casey Kane, and talking to his crew chief Kenny Francis this morning, Kenny said, you know, about that chase thing, you just come into this race knowing you've got to win the race, and that's what they have to do. They have to step up their competition so much. There's a lot of pressure on these crew chiefs. And Andy, what would happen if you went into the race knowing all you had to do was win?
Well, actually, that takes pressure off, Dave, because you don't have to worry about all the scenarios that could actually hurt you and knock you out of the chase. You can just look forward. You don't look in your rearview mirror, so to speak. You can just look out the windshield, drive as hard as you can, make good decisions, and hope you get in.
As of right now, Casey Kane is in. Of course, this is a moving target. We are just at lap 7, but right now he would be shown in the chase in 12th position. He has moved up. He is being shown 4th on the racetrack. David Reagan, by the way, in the 6 car is in 17th position. And you see Clint Boyer back in 22nd spot.
Yeah, I think they believe if they can come here and run in the top 5, that they're going to gain some points on those other 2 competitors, or there's a good chance they can do that. And if they can just gain some, then that gives them a shot next week still.
More on Clint Boyer. Jamie.
Well, Doc, Clint Boyer said it in pre-race. This is going to be a very critical night for him, and he was on a roll. In 4 laps, he gained 7 positions. Then they stayed out when the others pitted, and he said, guys, I think we're pretty good. We're just a little tight, but I think we're turning through the center really good. So he sounds confident, and that's what this team is looking for.
DJ, what about the pressure? These guys knowing that they got this race and in Richmond where anything can happen, and getting in the chase is what this year is all about for these guys up in the top 10 and 12.
Yeah, when they came out with this chase format, it totally changed the way that you look at this. You can see the sun going down the backstretch and the glare that these guys are going to have, and it's only going to get worse here for the next little while. So this situation they have right now isn't going away anytime soon. But there is tremendous pressure, and again, when they went to this chase format, it just changed the way that you looked at things. And trying to get in that, I mean, I found it more intense than trying to win the championship at times, because if you don't get in that, you don't have a chance to win the championship.
Pace car pulling away. We are working lap 7, coming down to for lap 8. Jimmie Johnson has led 6 laps. A.J. Allmendinger credited with leading a lap. Green flag waves once again, and Jimmie Johnson will lead him down. Remember, the cars from 28th on back did pit. 16 of them have been on pit road. Everyone in front of that has yet to make their first stop.
Three wide here. David Rudiman, and it's something a little different than Brown this week, but in the 44, the 22, and the 19 were 3 wide as they got down into 1. Rudiman still trying to make the pass on Dave Blaney.
He's probably going to be able to make this pass. Blaney was sideways to get in the middle of 1 and 2.
Talking about bad luck, Dave Blaney has had horrible luck the last 3 races. He would have had possibly 3 consecutive top 10 finishes and has had abysmal luck with DNFs.
Here comes Junior in the picture. I'd be surprised if he's not right against that wall here pretty quick.
He was yesterday watching him in practice. He didn't waste any time. After he got a few laps on his tire, he went straight to the top. And we know that Brian Vickers likes it up there, so it'll be interesting as he goes to the bottom.
Yeah, last night, Brian Vickers, he would run extremely high or extremely low, but he would change it up. You see right now, Junior kind of run the middle of the racetrack. Blaney's still real loose.
Our Wrangler telemetry on Dale Earnhardt Jr. You see him sailing by the 22.
hear him getting out of the gas, rolling a long way. Just a little bit of break there.
See Vickers down there below the white line on the apron.
Saw over 192 miles an hour just entering turn 3. Now let's
watch this. They got a tailwind down this front straightaway. 207.
Wow.
That'll get your attention, want to do.
Yeah, I guarantee you it will. Yeah, especially with the winds. That's the kind of things that these guys have to be careful of and cognizant of throughout the day and the night. Because as you go into turn 3, it allows you to, you got a headwind there that you can get in there a little bit harder.
Kyle Busch now being shown up into 6th position, trying to work on Martin Truex. Jeff Gordon in front of them. There's Kyle on the 18 up high. Truex in the 1 in front of him.
He's working the wheel there.
Man, I'm telling you, I can't believe how these cars, how ill and how loose and twitchy they are. Now you see why these drivers, when they get out of the cars after the race, are so tired.
I guarantee it's a day's work, and even though this race runs into the night and things cool off a little bit, this is a hard race. This is 500 long miles, a racetrack that you always have to work hard at anyway, and these cars make you work even harder. We see Dale Jr.
3 wide on the bottom.
Kyle Busch up in the front of that.
More on Junior with Dave.
And what you guys are talking about, how these cars are tough to drive, I was talking with Tony Uri Jr. about Dale Earnhardt Jr. this morning. He said, we've gone to setting up this car this weekend just a little bit tighter, a little bit easier to drive, because I don't want my driver to have to work so hard all race long. This is a long race. So this first report in the car, tick snug in the center of the corner. That's good news. Junior won't have to work as hard, and hopefully will save himself in that car for the end of the race. Tony Jr. said, we can loosen that car up. We don't have to start the race crazy loose.
Yeah, that's a good point, too, because you have to realize, folks, when you get to the end of this race, that's when you're going to be running your fastest laps when this racetrack cools down. So you better have something left.
Jeff Gordon saw a little bit of smoke out of his 24 cars. He looks back at the battle here for 5th place. Truex Jr. in the 1 and Brian Vickers. At the splitter rubbing on Gordon?
Yeah, you see these cars, they pile down. This track's pretty rough. It's not as smooth as it looks. And when these cars go in the corner, that splitter can rub, and you'll see a haze of smoke come out from like the middle of the car. And I don't know how many times with these new cars that's gotten me. I think something's wrong. You see that smoke coming out of there. You never want to see smoke, but if you kind of know what it is, it doesn't bother you.
You might have picked a pretty good sleeper there, Andy. Brian Vickers looks awful racy right here at the start.
I think when this track gets slicker, he's going to look better yet, because he's going to move up to the top. He's one of those guys that can really get it done up there, and every time we say it, they run right below the white line. But I think later on in the race, you'll see Vickers up there. Mike?
Well, you see the 1 in the screen of Martin Truex Jr. This is the final week for the suspension for Kevin Mannion. And, well, believe me, the interim crew chief, Mike Ricci, wants to go out with a very positive note. He says that this is a pretty good opportunity. They went to work on the car throughout practice. Didn't start off all that good. They made a lot of changes, but he said on the upside, the car responded very positively to every change, and he feels like they could have a pretty solid run today.
They were 3 wide a moment ago, Mike, and they were about to be side by side bouncing off. Somebody put a burr under Rudiman's saddle. Look at that 44 car.
Yeah, I was in the UPS suite earlier talking to some people, and they said that Rudiman had been there. And I said, well, what did he say about his car? And he said, well, yesterday it was horrible, so they changed everything on it. Well, it looks like whatever they changed was the right stuff.
They did. They made the right adjustments on this thing. But he almost moved up right in front of Truex. He didn't see him sneak up on the outside.
And that's so hard for the spotter to see all the way back there and to let him know that, too.
Yeah, this is 5th, 6th, and 7th. By the way, Jeff Gordon is in 4th position after qualifying 3rd. They had caught Gordon, and now he is pulled away by a couple of car lengths in front of Truex, Vickers, and Rudiman.
I'm Stan Verrett. Here's what's happening on SportsCenter right now. The Brewers are asking baseball to change the official ruling that cost CC Sabathia a no-hitter today. The scorer gave Andy LaRoche a base hit there, the only one Sabathia gave up in a 7-0 shutout of the Pirates. And with Hurricane Gustav bearing down on the Gulf Coast, the Saints will practice in Indianapolis this week. They open the season against the Bucks at the Superdome on Sunday. More on SportsCenter after the race.
California native Jimmie Johnson trying to become the first driver in 16-year history. Or 16 races to win from the pole, and now we are under caution for the 2nd time today.
A big piece of debris right there.
That or a trap door in the track 1.
That's what it looks like. Wow, you know what?
Lights.
That's the caution lights is what that is.
Yeah.
Somebody, I'll tell you, these guys have been running so close to that wall, they've knocked that light off. I've seen these guys getting up so close up there. I believe they knocked the light off.
Somebody didn't do their job. Now watch this. Here it comes.
No, maybe it's just the wind off of them. Man,
the wind's blowing hard that way too. But somebody didn't.
That's a heavy-duty light too. Now it's a good thing it didn't hit a car.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a yellow caused by the yellow. Now you got to run clockwise to see it. Lap 21, caution number 2 on the day.
Let's notice these cars. They make so much. You know, they make so much a big hole in the air that they really do make a lot of turbulence. I noticed at Pocono, the trees are lined up down the backstretch, and they just almost blow those trees down.
Good break here, a big break for Jamie McMurray. He was the only car not on the lead lap, and he would get the free pass and now be able to go back. So we would have all 43 cars on the lead lap here after 21 laps. There's McMurray having that damage. He brought out the first caution of the day on lap 3 with a cut left front tire and some damage to the fender.
They've done a good job fixing this car. You can see how they've got that brace fixed on the splitter. They've got a patch over the fender with that bare bond.
They actually added a couple of rods there in the front, didn't they?
Yeah, it looks like they did.
With an extension of that or something. That's what they had to do.
We're prepared.
Hey, everybody's going to be hitting pit road here.
They will head that way at 55 miles an hour. Jimmie Johnson leads them down. Dave?
Casey Kane will give up third position. His car a little bit loose in and loose off. Catch can man Rick Pennington will make a track bar adjustment on that car. Also air pressure up in the left rear tire. Shannon?
Great run for A.J. Allmendinger right now. Currently second. Started this race second. Car is still tight in the center of the turns, just like it was in practice. They're going to make a slight air pressure adjustment and 4 tires for A.J. Allmendinger. Mike?
Jimmie Johnson saying he's a little bit tight in the center of turns 1 and 2, but loose in turn number 4. They're going to go to work on the chassis, making a wedge adjustment, a 4-tire change on the 48. A very quick and smooth stop for Johnson. He's away.
Race off of pit road, a 13.7-second stop for Casey Kane's bunch, and that'll gain you a spot any day. He gains a spot. Allmendinger's guys over 15 seconds. Earnhardt Jr. up 3 positions. Jeff Gordon back a couple. Back with a green flag in a moment.
Lots of motorsports still to come on this busy Labor Day weekend. NASCAR Now right after the race on ESPN. And the NASCAR Now Roundtable wrapping it all up tomorrow, 5 Eastern Time, ESPN 2. Then next weekend we go to Richmond. Friday night, the Nationwide Series race, 7:30, ESPN 2. The NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series races Saturday afternoon in St. Louis at 2 Eastern Time on Speed. And then ABC next Saturday night, the Chevy Rock and Roll 400 from Richmond, 7 Eastern Time. Who makes the chase? And who goes without the opportunity to race for a championship this year? We'll find out next Saturday. Our aerial coverage tonight from California, brought to you by Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR, helping NASCAR drivers get to the finish line for over 50 years. Those pictures of this racetrack will go from the heat of the afternoon to the night lights shining brightly over Southern California here in just a little while. And Doc, we were just sitting here trying to think, wasn't it New Hampshire that something similar to what just happened a few years ago? Some sun marker signs blew down.
Yeah, exactly, Alan. In fact, these were the caution lights that the track has. NASCAR has their portable lights that they bring from every racetrack, and those are still up and functioning fine. These are the tracks that the lights the track puts up themselves. Take a look at our AT&T Crew Chief Challenge, and the question is, which driver currently in the top 12 in points has the best chance to get their first win this season? Is it Jeff Gordon A., Tony Stewart B., Kevin Harvick C., or Matt Kenseth D? To play, text the word crew to 191 on your AT&T wireless phone and send in your answer. The results will be shown later in the race. Standard text rates apply.
It looks like you have to run this backstretch by memory, Dale. Look at this glare.
Pretty much it. I tell you what, it's obvious. I don't know who came up with the starting time of this, but they had never been in a race car, I can assure you. They wouldn't have voted for that. But these guys get through it. You know, I think all the years that we've done this, nothing's really ever happened back there. So they're a little more cautious during this time.
And here's the good news. It's only going to get worse.
Yes.
Over the next 45 minutes to an hour. Pace car pulls away. Let's listen into the spotters as we go full throttle.
bottom. Still a good start, dude. Still free. Middle clear, still outside. Still outside, 2 by 2. Outside, barely, 49. Clear the 43. Still outside the 42. 20 clear. Here, still about 1 to the 7. Clear, clear high. Clear about 3, 88, 16. Everybody still on the bottom. Good job. Clear. Still there. From behind. Still there. Still there. Outside. He's outside there. Down low behind him. Trying to come back outside. 16 went to the middle. Clear. Single file. 88. No pressure.
That is what it's all about. That's how busy those spotters are. Jimmie Johnson has moved away by 1.1 second over Casey Kane. But back in third and fourth, we got a pair of Toyota teammates. Guys, you're two sleepers.
Yeah, they're battling each other here, Dale. Your guys got me right now, but it's still early.
Yeah, my guy started a lot further up to the front than what yours did. Brian Ritter's done a great job to see A.J. Allmendinger go to the bottom of the racetrack, trying to take that second spot from Casey Kane.
Before the caution came out, A.J. Allmendinger in this 84 car was the fastest car on the track by a tenth or two.
Remember, the United States headquarters for TRD is in Costa Mesa, California. If you watched our countdown show, you saw this is a home game for Toyota. Remember, Toyota is the only manufacturer that has never won a cup race here at the Speedway.
Yeah, AJ makes the pass there. I believe he's going to make it on Casey, and here comes Brian Vickers, his teammate, trying to follow through. What's going to be interesting to watch with AJ as this evening progresses and the racetrack changes, how well they keep up with all of that.
Again, Allmendinger making his very first ever start here at this racetrack in a NASCAR Sprint Cup car. How about this guy, Kevin Harvick, in the 29 car?
And you know, ever since they kind of moved themselves out of the top 10 with a couple of not so good runs and a little bad luck, or out of the top 12, I should say, they have really been on a nice roll here lately. They haven't had the fastest cars, but they have found themselves in the top 10 and top 5 almost every single week, and that's going to benefit them well as we see Harvick's moved up since the restart. 8 spots. That's pretty impressive, isn't it?
That must have been his spotter saying clear, clear, clear. Jamie?
Yeah, guys, Kevin Harvick, he's being, they're kind of being, well, conservative a little bit. He came in and he said his car is a little tight, but they're not going to adjust on it until the sun goes down and it gets dark. Of course, they've been in this situation before. They know what to expect. Now, Kevin started 33rd, so he's been on a roll. He's making his way up. But right now, being consistent, don't want to do anything until that sun goes down, guys. What do you think? About another half hour, 45 minutes?
Jamie, in front of him is Denny Hamlin in the 11 car, one of the drivers that's trying to hold on, and he should be able to hold on and get in the chase again this year. But he said, you know, we've run well, but we haven't not led a lap since Indianapolis, and that's starting to get in their crawl a little bit. So they want to be able to get up front and get this 11 car up to the lead point.
Yeah, and that's probably even worse when your teammate, he's right in front of him right now. Kyle Busch is leading all the laps, winning all the races. You know you've got as good a stuff as he does. So that makes it even worse when you're trying to think about leading laps.
Yeah, but I'm sure that Mike Ford, his crew chief, probably said, okay, I understand that and what you're wanting to do here, and we do need to make some improvements in some areas. But the main focus right now has to be everybody doing their job right, and let's get in this chase. And so let's just get a couple of good, solid runs, make sure that happens, and then we'll start leading laps in those last 10.
We ask him about the pressures of the chase, talking about Denny Hamlin.
The pressure, I mean, it builds a little bit each week. You know, and it kind of depends on the situation you're in, whether you're going to be a guy who's getting closer to that 13th spot, or you're kind of distancing yourself from the 13th spot. So, you know, you always kind of analyze, well, how good are you at the rest of the tracks versus the guys that you're going to race against.
And relating to what, DJ, you were talking about, this track and Mike Ford trying to get a handle on it has been his big issue. He told me this morning, his feel for Fontana, no, I don't have a feel for it. No one does, because this place will throw you curves. He can't compare it to the long race into the night at Lowe's Motor Speedway, the 600, because that track is so different and the tires are so different. So really, the biggest challenge for them today is this track.
But it is quite a challenge that they all go through in trying to decide exactly what is going to happen as they have this car, the different tire, and this racetrack that just doesn't have a lot of grip. Even if you're going to run here at midnight, it's not going to have a lot of grip. You just have to determine how much more it is going to gain.
That's the view back a moment ago from Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s car. And by the way, just before we went green, we were informed, seeing the 88 car, that 7,000 National Guardsmen have been now deployed to Louisiana, to the New Orleans area, to get ready for the impact of Hurricane Gustav, and they have put 40 more thousand National Guardsmen on standby. For those of you who are going to watch the race and are now on your way, we salute you for the duties that you are performing for our country. And Dale Earnhardt Jr. had sent a message up to us, but please tell them I said hello and how proud I am of what they're doing for us. He's going to do his best to make you proud here tonight.
You see Junior really up on the steering wheel, and I saw his splitter was actually rubbing the ground, making some smoke out from under the car, going in the corner.
He was really fighting that car on the exit of the corner, too. It looks like maybe it's not turning like he wants right there.
It didn't turn at all right there.
Yeah, no.
And he's way up there. Here comes our sleepers.
Yeah, battle for second here between the teammates now.
You cannot say enough about the difference that the 84 car has had as now 83 Vickers goes by, but the difference Allmendinger has had with Jimmy Elledge coming on board as a crew chief. Shannon.
Yeah, Doc, I spoke with Kevin Hamlin, who's the crew chief for Brian Vickers this morning, and just like you mentioned, Jimmy Elledge, he says, has played a huge role in the improvement in both of these teams. He said since Jimmy Elledge has come on board as the crew chief for A.J. Allmendinger, they share setups, they share things across the board, which really allows those teams to go out and try new things, experiment, and he says he feels like both of those teams are really benefiting from Jimmy Elledge being on top of that pit box.
The Red Bull teammates are Red Bull rivals right now. They are running second and third behind the Chevrolet of Jimmie Johnson. Lap 35, and Johnson has led 33, make it 34 of the 35 laps. Back in just a moment. We're in lap 38 of the Pepsi 500 here in Fontana, California, Auto Club Speedway. Jimmie Johnson is our leader, and right now Johnson's lead is at 4.2 seconds over the teammates Brian Vickers and A.J. Allmendinger. The question is, we watch Greg Biffle come up through there.
And he's coming up through this pack pretty good. See a little smoke off that splitter on his car, too, when he got in the corner. Mike?
Well, Biffle may have a problem if you can get a good close-up of the grill of that car. He had some paper on there not too long ago. That created some pretty intense temperatures with the water escalating to 245 degrees. It looks like it may have blown off, but that was a concern for the 16 Camp not too long ago.
That'll make one run good for a while until it makes it run hot. I think maybe I saw a little debris on that grill. There's an opening. God, man, he's fighting that car. There's a little opening above that, right there below the bumper. You can see a little white in that area that where that grill opening is.
Yeah, it'll run 245.
Oh, yeah, it'll run 245 a long time.
Yeah. With Doug Yates building the engines, they don't have any problem. They're not going to get any worse.
A voice of experience speaking there.
See, A.J. Allmendinger taking the second spot away from Brian Vickers. I think he had pulled over and let him go a little bit before that, just to maybe see why Brian had caught him. He figured it out and went back by him.
So it is Chevy, a couple of Toyotas, then Ford and Dodge in the top 5. Back up front, the 48 car, Jimmie Johnson. Mike.
And Doc, this has got to be a pretty feel-good run right now for the 48 team. Although they've been solid here in California in the past, this type of racetrack, intermediate-sized racetracks, have been, in Jimmy's estimation, their weakness with this new car so far in 2008. Feels like they've come a long way, and while it's been a team effort, let's listen in on what Chad Canals had to say as he coached his driver not too long ago.
To some of these guys on TV, they were doing kind of like what they were doing yesterday, getting down on that apron. I don't know if that's something that you want to try early just to see if there's anything to it or not.
And getting to that apron, though, may be easier said than done, Doc. Very stiff crosswind here in turns 1 and 2, and drivers told me before the race that makes it very difficult to get to the bottom of the racetrack at this end.
There seems to be a lot of searching, groove searching, Rusty Wallace. This track, as you mentioned at Michigan, where you got a lot of different options. And as a driver, can you know, or do you need help to know exactly where the best place to run is?
Well, Jerry, a lot of times the crew chief's watching what's going on. He's watching television, like he said, and he sees everybody kind of searching different lines. But as a driver, Jimmie Johnson's got such a dominant car right now. Jimmie and Chad have got to be thinking, when the sun goes down and it starts getting dark and this racetrack cools off a lot, what's this car going to do? Am I going to lose this big advantage, or what's going to happen? So he's probably saying, hey, go to the bottom of the racetrack, try it out down there a little bit, go back to your regular groove. Let's just see what we got here for us. Because one thing is going to change, we do know that. These conditions are going to get much cooler. Cars are going to handle a lot different, guys.
Hey, Rusty, I was just wondering if there's probably 42 other crew chiefs saying, hey, this is where the 48's running, in case you're wondering. Oh, he's long gone.
Yeah, I think you're probably going to say, Kurt Busch is around. Well, we got a left rear tire down on it. You saw the outer part of the tread laying on the bottom of the racetrack. He did a good job holding on that baby, guys.
Kurt Busch bringing out caution number 3.
We just front here, guys. He's in 2 rolling.
Pat Tryson there, the crew chief, looking on, a little disappointed. Obviously, with hoping Kurt could have a good run here. He will have to just gingerly get that car back toward pit road.
And it's hard to drive one like that with that just right rear tire pulling the car.
This looks like maybe that the cap of the tire just came. Yeah, it did. Just comes off.
Now, just right in front of David Ray. Oh, and then Ryan Newman hits it with the
his
front end
teammate.
of his car. Yeah,
and
that's the way it works out.
Crazy things happen, but.
From Jeff Burton's on board.
Oh, well, now we see why it came
Now
off.
we know why it went flat. Martin Truex is probably going to be the next one to have a flat tire.
There's usually a good reason those things happen. Yeah, you just have to take a second and find it and figure out exactly where it occurred.
They don't go flat by themselves usually.
Trying to milk it back. Leaders had been on pit road, by the way, on lap 22. We are working lap 44.
Yeah, he's going to get lapped, though, is his problem. And with that rear, we saw Jamie McMurray not get lapped earlier by being able to get, but that thing is so hard to drive. He's going as hard as he can without spinning out, but the rest of the cars are coming off of turn 4 right now with the pace car.
Yeah, all you can do is just, all you can, and just get in here and change the tire, go back out, and then you got a long race here to work with and get this lap back.
And everybody's on the lead lap right now. He would be the first car lap down if you were to get lapped, and he could get the free pass.
I say that they may possibly get just the left side's changed there if they can get it up. Jamie?
Kevin Harvick said, I don't know what's going on, guys, but my car is hauling the mail. They're not going to make any adjustments. Actually, one small air pressure adjustment. They just told me 4 tires for the 29. Dave?
Jamie, Casey Kane said the car is pretty loose, but the front is working well. They'll make an air pressure and track bar adjustment for that. Shannon?
Yeah, A.J. Allmendinger is also going to go with the track bar adjustment. Car is tight right now. You see that wrench in the back window. 4 tires for A.J. Allmendinger. Mike Massaro.
Jimmie Johnson real comfortable with his car, saying he could use just a little bit more grip. They'll make a track bar adjustment, 4 tire change, and a full load of Sunoco race fuel. Team working now on the left side. They're off to Jackson. Another great stop for the 48.
Race off of pit road. Another great stop, as you mentioned, for Chad Knaus and company. Biffle up a spot. He's on the move. And Kevin Harvick has been the guy really on the move. We'll see if he can continue that march when we come back to California for the green flag. Back in Fontana, California, working caution for the 3rd time today. By the way, Kurt Busch did indeed lose a lap by virtue of losing that tire after contact with the 1 car, Martin Truex. Jimmie Johnson, our leader. Greg Biffle, A.J. Allmendinger, Brian Vickers, Dale Earnhardt Jr. That's the top 5. Casey Kane is 6th, and Kevin Harvick had come from 31st spot. You heard on the pit stop a moment ago, he said, my car's a rocket, and let's see if he can continue that march as we are set to go back to the green.
Yeah, Matt Kenseth just behind him has got himself up in the top 10 already. Great run.
A couple of cars penalized for too fast exiting pit road a moment ago. The 96 of Ken Schrader and the 55 of Michael Waltrip had to do a pass-through for the speeding penalty. Or I should say tail end of the longest line.
Jimmie Johnson has been able to really get away on these restarts. This is Greg Biffle's first shot at him as he's made his way up to the 2nd spot. Jimmie's just been so much faster on these new tires the first 8 or 10 laps. He just shoots out there kind of like Kyle Busch did last night.
9th and 10th spot, the 17 car, Matt Kenseth, a 2-time winner here. He has come from 35th starting spot, and behind him, looking at Matt, is the boy that's won 2 in a row here, Carl. 2 in a row in the last 2 events out, Carl Edwards.
He's made a good march up to the front also. We heard him say he was going to have some fun early.
Sure have. That's 3 of the Roush cars in the top 10 right there. So these guys must have shared a lot of information and got these cars. They probably went and asked Carl what he'd been doing, and now they got them all good.
There's the 07 car. Clint Boyer, he was trying to hold on to that 12th position in the chase coming in. He was in 12th by 12 points. Now being shown in 13th. The 6 car, David Reagan, when we were talking about it, was who had the momentum coming in with that run the last couple of weeks. There's a 6 car of Reagan in front of him.
They've really been on a solid roll here, Andy. You pointed that out earlier. These guys really have done a good job to get themselves in position in only his 2nd year in this series.
Yeah, you talk to these guys, and they're very, very focused, and they're very confident, really, that they can get in this chase. And when you got Jimmie Johnson, a crew chief that's been around a long time working with this guy, I mean, that's got to be a huge advantage for David.
He talked about, Clint Boyer won the spring race in Richmond, and that says a lot, but David Reagan finished 3rd there, so it's not like that he can figure out and say, okay, well, let's just give it to Clint if he's ahead of us.
Yeah, David Reagan might have had the fastest car there last fall with laps running down, and he was clicking them off one by one to finish 3rd.
Right now, there's a virtual tie for 12th.
Yeah, that's all tight. Casey Kane having a great run here today, so next Saturday night's going to be a pressure cooker.
Kevin Harvick continuing his march, trying to move in.
I'm not even driving it.
Now keep doing what you're doing, bud.
Yeah, that's fun whenever it's like that. You just ride around, you go down and back out of the gas and stomp the gas and turn a little bit left. Harvey, this is very impressive for this race team. They need something like this to get even a little bit more momentum heading into the chase.
Harvick's last win, by the way, was a season opener at Daytona, the Daytona 500 back in 2007. He has now gone 59 races without a win. Jamie.
Well, I talked to his crew chief, Todd Barrier, for Kevin Harvick, and I asked him what their strategy is. They're sitting 8th in points. He said, nothing is a done deal yet. He said, we want to race for the win. It's been a long time, as you just noted, Doc, since they've won and gone to victory lane. But he said, we're going to go for it. We're not going to be necessarily conservative, but we're going to be cautious. And that's been the plan today. But, guys, Kevin Harvick, he's got one fast race car under him.
That's Todd Barrier, the crew chief up there on the box. Todd and Kevin, they have a good relationship. They really know how to get things done. And when things aren't going well, they know how to, keep their composure and keep working on things till they can turn it around.
When your race car's this good, you're not sure if you want the nighttime to come or not, because you don't know how that'll affect your car. Obviously, their car is great, especially in comparison to the rest of the field right now.
I always kind of worry about having a really good car at this point of the race, because you always want to be up front, but you always worry that maybe when conditions do change that you won't be that good.
Now, what happened to Jeff Gordon, who qualified 3rd and was running 4th early on? He's now being shown back in the 8th position.
He's struggling with the handling a little bit. He just doesn't seem that he's on the bottom and he's in the middle and on the top. Shannon, you got some more for us on that?
Yeah, you're exactly right, Dale. He is struggling with the handling. He said it's really, really loose and that the car has absolutely no rear grip. He actually came over the radio and said that he has never experienced a car that has such bad drive-off in his entire life. Maybe you could explain, Dale, exactly what he's feeling inside that car right now.
Yeah, and this race car, this race track lends itself to that because there's not a lot of banking here, and then it flattens out really quickly off of these corners, and he just can't get the back end of the car underneath him to where he can utilize that horsepower that they have down the straightaway. He's too long getting back to the throttle. Whenever we were here for the first race, Jeff Gordon was really good at night, and then it rained and it had to run during the day the next day, and he wasn't good in the sunlight. So maybe that car will be a lot better when the sun finally goes down.
Yeah, he led 55 laps here when the race first began, and then the next day in the daytime, I think he led 8 or 9, but they just couldn't get the car to grip the racetrack here in the daylight.
The problem is with this race car, you got to learn how to run it sideways. The guys that are winning races, Carl Edwards and Kyle Busch, run their car virtually sideways. And I think Jeff's one thing Jeff doesn't like, but he's going to have to learn to like.
How do you learn that, though? I mean, if you've been accustomed,
he can do it. He's one of the best out there.
Yeah, and what they do is, even though their cars are sideways, they have enough grip there. Jeff doesn't have enough grip to lean on, so they're missing just a little something there that he can. Jeff's not afraid to hang it out. He can do that. It's just that they need that little bit of grip that these other guys have that they're missing right now, and they just have to keep working on it. His teammates got plenty of grip, though. Jimmie Johnson doesn't seem to have any problem. He's got a 2-second lead right now.
He won this race a year ago from the outside front row. He won the pole here and trying to become the first driver to win it from the pole. And Jimmie Johnson looks like he just having a nice little Sunday afternoon drive. He has led 52 of the 54 laps thus far.
Aerial coverage brought to you by Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR, helping NASCAR drivers get to the finish line for over 50 years. Looking down on the Auto Club Speedway of Southern California, this very fast 2-mile track being dominated on this evening thus far by Jimmie Johnson. Trying to win a third straight NASCAR Sprint Cup Series championship. Jimmie joined us in the studio earlier today. Told us that he wasn't exactly sure what kind of car he was going to have tonight after final practice yesterday, but I think we know in one word, stout.
Yeah, he's got a stout hot rod. There's no doubt about that. But right now, I mean, it's almost too good to be true, guys. This car is flying around this racetrack. He's outrunning everybody. All these teams probably are waiting for the sun to go down and see what's going to happen next, because we've been talking all day. When that happens, these cars are definitely going to change.
Yeah, I think everybody's just stuck with what they got. They're sticking with what they got until that sun goes down, and then they'll build the adjustability into them. But it's just amazing to watch how good, how flawless that race car is, the 48 car, and particularly coming off of last week at Bristol, where he just struggled monumentally. So he's got a great run going. And David Rudman, he's been sniffing around that top 10 ever since we started this race. He's got himself a pretty darn good hot rod.
Yeah, we talked about Kevin Harvick also. Harvick's been flying around this racetrack too, early going. We're only 59 laps in this race, but one guy I've been watching, guys, is Dale Earnhardt Jr. He's been right dead on that wall. If he makes one mistake, he's going to hit it.
Rudeman running 9th right now. Meanwhile, let's check up on how some of these top 10 drivers are reporting their cars back to their crews as we go up to speed. Mike?
Well, I'll remember when we were here back in February, that was really the first test of this new car on an intermediate-sized racetrack. And because of that, I asked Chad Knaus earlier today how much he feels like they've gained in terms of the development of this car. He said back then we were maybe a top 15 car at these racetracks. We're now solidly a top 5 every time we come here. Jimmie very happy with his car, saying he's just a smidge loose coming off of turn number 2. But Knaus reminding him the sun's going down, it's getting cooler, that should be expected. Meanwhile, the guy trying to chase Jimmie Johnson down right now, Greg Biffle. And Biffle, believe me, is trying to close the gap on his teammates. That's what he told me this afternoon. He said he feels like they're getting closer and closer to the 99 in Carl Edwards, but they're not quite there yet. But it looks like he's got a pretty stout race car this afternoon. There was some concern earlier about temperatures, but they have gone down, Jamie.
Talk about a stout race car. Kevin Harvick right behind him in the 29. He's from the high desert, about 150 miles from here in Bakersfield, California. You see Harvick on the low line there. He said his car is a little loose, but as we reported earlier, they're going to hold off on making any changes until that sun goes down and the track cools down just a bit. Shannon?
Yeah, Jamie, Brian Vickers currently running 4th. I spoke with his crew chief, Kevin Hamlin, this morning. He told me because they were starting back in the pack, they qualified 19th for this race. They were going to set that car up just a little bit loose. Well, it's still loose. They have been working on it, but they haven't changed much. Brian Vickers, one of those drivers, trying out the different lines on the track, seeing where this car works best. Dave.
Denny Hamlin started 21st today, making steady progress through the field. This is a brand new race car, much like their Indy Michigan car, identical tunnel numbers, according to crew chief Mike Ford. They've been working on the early throttle when he gets back to the gas, right about there. A little bit tight, a little bit pushy, so they've been taking some air pressure out of that left rear to try to help that situation. Shannon?
Yeah, Dave, right behind him is A.J. Allmendinger. I spoke with his crew chief, Jimmy Elledge, last evening, and he told me, you know, AJ's really matured a lot, and the change actually happened before Jimmie came on and was his crew chief. He said he started to see it on the last couple of races right when he got back into the car after Mike Skinner took off that ride. The biggest thing for A.J. Allmendinger is confidence, and qualifying and running the way he is right now in this race is certainly helping him with that. Mike.
Well, Shannon, Carl Edwards started off the race having a bit of a difficult time getting a read on the balance. It was so windy out there, he wasn't really sure if the car was tight, but wasn't sure if it was loose. But right now he's sure of one thing. He radioed in recently saying the car is shaking. Bob Osborne had to kind of settle him down and told him, look, bud, you've got to live with it. And so far he is.
Mike, maybe that's why Casey Kane got around that 99 car, because his car was way, way loose, hard to drive. But if it was better than the 99, then he took the position. They made a track bar and air pressure adjustment last time to try to account for looseness. But you see right at the corner, right, that wiggle right there, still just a little bit loose. Mike, back to you.
And David Ruderman next in line there, another guy battling a loose race car. But again, his crew chief reminding him that the sun is going down. It's going to get a little bit looser, so this should be expected. Next time down pit road, expect them to make some pretty serious adjustments to the 44. Jamie.
And Matt Kenseth, he's moved up to the 10 spot. What a weekend it's been. First practice, this team unloaded. The steering box failed, so they had to spend the entire practice in the garage. Second practice, they played catch-up, and by happy hour, Matt said, okay, we have a pretty good car, pretty well balanced. They started 35th, guys. He's already worked up to 10th, Shannon.
Yeah, Jeff Gordon running 11th. I told you earlier how he had zero rear grip. The car is getting a little bit better, but Jeff Gordon still says he has no drive-off. I spoke with Steve Letarte, his crew chief, today, and he told me that this team has tested more this year than they ever have. Last year, they tested 10 times. This year, they will test up to 26 times, and he said right now, we're still not where we need to be for the chase. Dave.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. running 12. He restarted this session 6th. You heard me right. He's lost 6 positions since that restart. Why? The car very loose in and off of the corner at the start of the run. He just reported that to his crew. Shannon, back to you.
Yeah, right now, Kyle Busch running 13th. This is an odd place to see Mr. Busch outside the top 10. I spoke with his crew chief, Steve Addington, this morning, and he was really confused about this car. He told me they just couldn't find the speed. And right now, Kyle Busch is struggling with that car. It is tight in, loose off. They actually took half a spring rubber out of that car on the last pit stop just to try to help Kyle Busch. Dave.
Juan Pablo Montoya having a pretty good run up in that high line. Interesting for Juan Pablo. He likes to run that high line because it's fast, but also you see how this track has lines in it. It's paved in 4 lanes. There are seams in between those lanes. When he runs his car across them, it upsets the car. He doesn't like that. So he gets up high and he stays up high. Mike?
Dave, it's been a real challenging weekend for the 20 team. I spoke with Greg Zipadelli this morning, and he said, we've been a little bit tight, but the biggest concern has been speed. There just was not enough of it. Right now, the handling is getting a little bit better. He's rolling through the center better than expected. They were tight earlier, but the car's starting to come to him right now, but still nowhere near where Tony wants the car to be right now, Doc.
There's the 31 car. Jeff Burton, by the way, we heard at the beginning of our show and countdown, he's celebrating his 500th career start here in this event. Long and storied history for Jeff Burton, yet to win a championship. He said this could be their year. It felt like maybe he could get, he's going to get the car in the chase, as he is sitting 5th in the points right now, and would like to be able to make it this his first ever Sprint Cup championship season. Caution on the racetrack, and Joe Nemechek has hit a ton in his Chevrolet. Heavy right side damage.
Well, he's pounded something here.
Caution for the 4th time.
Yeah, I'm okay. It got loose, it turned a bunch sideways, and I thought I had it saved, and it wrecked the back. Drive shaft knocked out of it.
That's what he's talking about is he overcorrected the car, and boy, when you do that, sometimes you can hit a ton.
Yeah, that's as hard a hit as you'll get. I was wondering, it didn't look like the right front tire was down and if we were going to have any issues there, but that wasn't that. You heard Joe say that he got loose. He tried to turn back to the right just a little bit. These cars, you can't turn a lot back to try to correct them. A lot of times, if you just hold the wheel steady as you can, it'll sometimes will correct itself. That's hard to do as a driver. You're wanting to drive it out of it.
We showed people earlier with the Wrangler telemetry that the speeds entering the corner were 206, 207 miles an hour.
Now you see this Joe Nemechek right here coming off the corner. You see he had already made that overcorrection and pounded that wall. Boy, I tell you, he was probably lucky they had those safer barriers up there to hit.
Yeah, that's really, because that's just one that you're not expecting right then, because it happens so quickly. But it was good to hear Joe was okay.
He's out of the car walking around and surveying the damage.
Makes you really appreciate all the safety innovations we've come up with over the years.
You know, the safety innovations, and something else I'm going to say is that, you know, how many times do we hear drivers get out and they're saying, well, I don't know if I cut a tire or what, but that's the man owning up to say, hey, you know, I got loose and I tried to correct it, and that's what happened. I hate it happen, but it does, to the best.
Jimmie Johnson, Greg Biffle, and Brian Vickers. We're going to watch these guys on pit road here as they will come down under the 4th caution flag of the day. Remember, Kevin Harvick is one of the drivers who's driven his car from the back of the pack from 31st all the way now into 4th position. Those guys perched on the wall. Denny Hamlin's guys ready to service his car. Remember, he is yet to lead. Applause down there for Greg Biffle. Let's go down to Jamie.
Kevin Harvick pulls in. He was 4th. He said his car is just getting too loose all the way through the center. They're going to make more of an air pressure adjustment in the right rear. 4 tires and Sunoco fuel for the 29. Shannon?
Yeah, Brian Vickers pulling his car into the pit stall right now. His Red Bull guys are up on the wall. He's having a problem with the drive off as well. The same problem that Jeff Gordon is having. 4 tires for Brian Vickers. They're also going to go down on that track bar, make just a slight air pressure adjustment to try to help him out. Mike.
Meanwhile, Greg Biffle, middle screen of your box. He's loose in and loose off. They're going to make an air pressure adjustment and a 4-tire change. Your leader, Jimmie Johnson, saying it was progressively getting worse. Loose off turn 2. They'll make a wedge adjustment in the left rear. 4 tires and fuel on the 48.
Almost a 13-second flat stop for the 48 bunch for Chad Knaus and Jimmie Johnson. Matt Kenseth has come up 5 positions on the pit stop. Allmendinger loses 3 back to 10th position. In the shadows of Mount Baldy, that's part of the San Bernardino Mountain Range overlooking Auto Club Speedway of Southern California. We are under caution for the 4th time here in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series event. Pit stops have taken place. Let's visit with our in-race reporter, Carl Edwards.
Carl, Dale Jarrett, you have a copy?
I got you, Dale.
Hey, Carl, you made up a lot of spots so far. Has the racetrack changed much? Is it starting to cool off and get a little more grip?
Not yet, man. It's real slick right now, real slick. So just been sliding around. It's like the guy who can, you know, who's not sliding, you know, or the guy who's sliding the least is the fastest. So doing the best we can to keep it going forward. I think as the sun goes down, it's changed a lot. So there'll be some comers and goers.
Well, in that case, are you adjusting on your car right now or just driving it and waiting for that time?
We're adjusting on it. So I'm sure Bob will have to do a lot more adjusting once we, you know, once the track changes. But right now, he's doing the right thing. He keeps getting better and better.
Okay, thanks, Carl.
Thanks, Dale.
Half a lap away from the green. By the way, you Elliott Sadler fans, he has been on and off pit road under caution. The last 2 cautions, they have come in and for lengthy stays to try to repair some damage on the right rear. And by the way, the Brian Vickers team lost a lot of time in the pits on that pit stop.
This is a team that's really been getting it done on pit road. Their pit crew's been doing a really good job. But right here, the right front tire changer, everything's going pretty good here. But when they go back on, he loses a lug nut and has to stop right here, pick one up, and that seems like it takes forever and costs him a lot of spots. But if he didn't put it on there, they would call him back down pit road and lose even more. At least they did a good job of recovery.
Yeah, Brian had that problem in the nationwide race last night when he raced and came back to have a good run.
And that's the same crew they used last night.
Came in 3rd, came out 13th. They'll have to drive it back toward the front. Jimmie Johnson, meanwhile, is at the front where he has been for much of the night. He's led 3 times for 70 of the 74 laps.
Let's see if anybody's got anything for him on this restart. He's been able just to drive away at will here so far.
A lot of these guys are making adjustments, though, and like we've been here, the track is changing, and we should see some of this complexion of the race change as we go.
Remember, Biffle talked about being loose in and loose off. They made some air pressure adjustments. See if that's going to make a change. He tries to go up on the outside. Maybe he's the first guy to challenge Jimmie Johnson.
Here we go. Yes, sir. Like Biffle's made some good adjustments.
Side by side, Greg Biffle. In the spring race here back in February, he was very good at night and not so good in the daytime.
A lot of difference in the lines 3, 1, and 2. That really cost Biffle. Looks like Jimmie's car really good on the bottom.
that's rush hour in L.A. right there, isn't it? That's, wow. That guy's going everywhere. Here comes Denny Hamlin on the inside of Biffle as he slipped up the racetrack down in turns 1 and 2. Hamlin's trying to take that spot away as they come off of turn 4.
Yeah, they pulled away about 5 or 6 car lengths from Kevin Harvick, who had gotten all the way up to 4th spot. There's Harvick back behind him. Johnson, Biffle, Hamlin. There's Harvick.
And you see Kurt Busch there. He didn't get the lucky dog the last time. He wasn't the free pass winner. Johnny Sauter got that. So Johnny Sauter just gotten lapped. So we see the guys 3 wide here off of turn 2. That's David Rudeman. I think every time we've said 3 wide, Rudeman's been a part of it, hasn't he? That just shows that his car's pretty good. Here comes Junior up behind.
Big run for Junior.
Yeah, kind of gave a little push to Allmendinger there.
Yeah, that's 8th, 9th, and 10th. Junior running in 10th position. And what's getting in the Rudeman? I mean, he has been all over the racetrack. He's been very aggressive here early on.
Well, he has been, and he's got a car that he can be that with. That's the way he wants to be, I'll assure you. And they've had a couple of better runs the last few weeks. I talked with them a little bit about that, and they seem to think that they've got some things handled. Plus, I think one thing that happens, they told David Rudeman he was going to be back there next year. He's going to be driving that car again, and that makes a world of difference. See him 3 wide here again with Vickers, Junior, and
wow,
Junior slides in.
He just barely had a hole to slide in right there. And you see Brian Vickers working the bottom side. This is some tight racing right here from Jeff Gordon's car.
Yeah, he's thankful that was his teammate and friend Jeff Gordon that let him in. As you can see, Gordon down below that white line trying to find some grip.
You see the 88 car, the wobble up across the racetrack. He gathered it back up, but he lost enough time, and Gordon now has a shot on his inside.
It's amazing how out of control sideways they're driving these cars.
That's why I joined you guys up here.
Yeah, what did Carl Edwards say? The guy who's sliding the least is the guy that's going to be okay out there?
It didn't look like that was Junior. He was sliding a lot.
Yeah, Junior looks like his car is okay, and he can run pretty good for the first 5, 6, 8 laps. And then once you get the good off the tires, his car is going away pretty quickly.
Top 7 are single file, but once you get back to the other bunch back there where it's Allmendinger, Rudeman, Montoya, and Vickers, they're just mixing it up all over. Look at the 83 car all the way down to the white line.
And this is a great run for Montoya. We haven't been able to talk a lot about him, especially on the ovals this year, that he's had very good runs, and this is pretty impressive for them.
Well, this Ganassi Sabatas team really needs something good to happen to them here as this year progresses. They have struggled, to say the least, here through much of 2008.
Yeah, they've done that, and now they've lost their other driver there, and so they'll be looking for a driver to go in where Reed Sorensen's leaving.
Behind this group is the 07 of Clint Boyer, now being shown in 13th position. But the important part for Clint, he has moved back into 12th. Whoa, Junior behind him was swinging the door there on the gate.
I'm telling you, man, he is out of control. Dave?
And Andy, they may be trying to adjust around something that you really can't fix once you're here at the racetrack. Junior complaining that the car has too much yaw in it, that it comes off the corner sideways, kind of like you just saw. So I figured we ought to go down to the Chevy Cutaway car and talk to Tim Brewer. Hey, Brewer, y'all got anything that can fix yaw in the middle of a race?
Very, very difficult. I'm telling you, Dave. From our powertrain unit right here, folks, look at this. We can run 1.88 degrees of camber, meaning from bottom to the top. That's working pretty well here for the tires. But we can also tow the rear end housing out 1 degree. NASCAR allows that. But we have to do it right here at the snout. What we do, we machine the snout and actually weld it in here. But to change it at the racetrack, now you'd have to change the rear end housing. In practice, you might be able to manipulate the trailing arm to move it forward a little bit, but no, you're pretty much stuck with what you have right here, and you're not going to change it during the race.
Boy, Tim, if he slips one more time, he's going to tow that right rear end about 4 degrees with the wall.
Yeah, I was going to say, Tim needed to take that jig that he had there, that setup, and yaw it out about 8 degrees more. I don't know about what that's going to do for the camber on there, but that's about how far Junior was out of shape just a couple of minutes ago.
17 car, 2-time winner here, Matt Kenseth. You don't have to worry about Matt Kenseth when it comes to California. He's won twice here from 25th starting spot and 31st, so wherever he starts, he can be a factor.
Yeah, he's running 11th right now, so he's moving his way up towards the front.
Lap 82. Last 3 times Jimmie Johnson has been here. He's finished 3rd, 1st, and 2nd. Yeah, he's pretty good at this place.
I'm Stan for Red Here's what's happening on SportsCenter right now. Jim Thome hit his 536th career home run today. That tied Mickey Mantle for 14th on the all-time list. White Sox beat the Red Sox 4-2 to avoid a 3-game sweep. Ohio State running back Beanie Wells has no broken bones after injuring his right foot yesterday against Youngstown State. He'll get treatment, and Ohio State hopes to know more on Monday. More on SportsCenter after the race.
Jimmie Johnson continues to lead the Pepsi 500. He has led 81, or make it 82 now, the 86 laps thus far. Barrett Biffle in second, Hamlin third, Harvick fourth, and the 99 of Carl Edwards and Brian Vickers in fifth and sixth position.
Brian Vickers making up a lot of these spots he lost on pit road.
It's a fast race car. Here we see Casey Kane trying to take a spot away. He needs to get himself in that top 5 if he's going to have a shot at making the chase.
He was 56 points out. He's the guy you thought probably wouldn't have a shot when we did our opening talking about the guys that may be on the outside looking in. But Kane wants to get in for lots of reasons. By the way, he would be the only Dodge in the chase right now. There's not a single Dodge in the top 12.
Yeah, he's just too many points behind, I thought, to get in. He's going to run well here, and you can see he's running well now. He'll run good next week also. But the, that 56 points of coming in this race is a little bit more than I think he can overcome in a couple of races, unless he just really has some stellar runs.
Yeah, especially if Clint Boyer, who's in 12th right now, if he continues that type of pace, it's going to be difficult. Reagan has slipped back. We saw him earlier be ahead of Clint Boyer at that point in the race, but I don't know if they're making adjustments on their car. See him back pretty far here right now, but it's still a long way to go in this race.
Yep, lap 88 of 250, so he's got a long way to go yet.
Back in 22nd position, coming off that impressive performance at Bristol, where he drove a backup car from the back of the pack for 500 laps and got a top 10 finish. It's been all Jimmie Johnson thus far. Coming home to his native state of California, El Cajon had a charity golf tournament for the second year and raised over $500,000. He's very proud of what happened on Tuesday and Wednesday this week. Habitat for Humanity Homes. He and wife Shandy were a part of being able to hand the keys to a home for a mother with 3 children. Said now that's been a good part of the week. Now maybe I can go get in the race car and get this thing back in victory lane after having the disappointment and a 33rd place finish at Bristol.
Greg Biffle there in second place. This is about as close as anybody's been able to stay to Jimmie in this length of run. He's about a 2nd and 7/10 back right now. That's really not that bad. I'm sure Greg's not too upset with his car right at this point in time, knowing that there's still a long way to go, and they have made gains as far as running closer lap times with Jimmie Johnson.
Greg Biffle is a driver noted for his precision. We asked him about that, about not making mistakes.
You cannot afford to make a mistake. You can't, be over aggressive, race down in the corner inside a guy and then end up having a problem, because finishing 43rd and a guy gets a top 5, it can shift pretty quickly in the points. So that's a big point swing.
Yeah, that's a different Greg Biffle, I think, than came into this series, because I think he wanted to go every single lap as hard as he can. What do you got for us, Mike?
Well, you remember what Denny Hamlin said a couple of weeks ago about not being chase-worthy? Well, Greg Biffle kind of said that last year when he was in the chase, but he says his outlook this year completely different. He said last year he felt like he was just taking up space in the chase. This year, though, he feels like they're really peaking at the right time, and they can make a lot of noise once the chase begins. We're seeing evidence of that out there right now. Before the last round of pit stops, he was loose in and loose off. The car real good right now. He's happy.
Johnson goes by, Biffle, then Hamlin and Harvick. Vickers. There's the 9 car of Casey Kane right behind the 83 of Brian Vickers. Casey, who swept both events here in 2006.
He's been searching this racetrack low and high to find out where his race car will go the fastest. It's like they're giving him lap times, and he just keeps searching. I mean, it seems like he'll run a couple of laps on one side of the racetrack, and then he goes to the other, just seeing what's going to work best for him. And he's got himself in a good spot right now.
DJ, we talked about the new generation Dodge that Gillette Evernham had been able to develop, and that's made a big difference for this team in the last month.
Yeah, and this is a different car than what Casey had like at Pocono and at Michigan. This is that new generation car that they had at Indianapolis that all 3 cars were Casey and Patrick Carpentier elected not to take it to Michigan, but now they have it here, and all three of the cars were a lot better, and we can see it working better for Casey as we go back to Juan Pablo Montoya here on the high side. He's been up against that wall the whole time, Andy.
Yeah, he's moved up. He's in the top 10. He's running 8. He's running lap times that are right at what Jimmie Johnson's running, and he's in traffic, so that means his car is pretty good. Actually, last lap he was just 100th or so faster than Jimmie.
Announced last week that his sponsor, longtime NASCAR sponsor, Texaco Haviland, would not be back in 2009, and they have been working diligently to replace that with a full-time sponsor for next year. They've got some part-time things put together.
Yeah, we can only hope that comes together pretty soon, because this is a driver and a team with Chip Ganassi and Felix Sabates that our sport needs to have, and we need them running well. So hopefully they'll get those issues settled and get this team back towards the front.
We heard that that Juan Pablo had said on the radio he didn't like the seams in this racetrack, and that's why he wanted to stay up high. They were a little less of a factor up high.
Yeah, we heard Carl Edwards talk about that before the race, that the seams here were a little different than Michigan, and that's what he fought a lot.
Moving in on lap 100 of 250 here in the Pepsi 500. Auto Club Speedway, Southern California. 2 races to go tonight and 1 more before we set the chase for the Sprint Cup in 2008.
The Pepsi 500 in California is brought to you by Allstate. Are you in good hands? By Flanders, instinctively good. And Subway Restaurants, bigger, better Subway Scrabble, easy to play, easy to win. Subway, eat fresh. Jimmie Johnson has dominated thus far tonight. The pattern has been they have a caution, make a pit stop. Johnson has a challenger for about a lap, and the longer they run, the farther he gets away. He's opened up a 3.7-second lead on Greg Biffle. And what Rusty's watching is his watch.
I'm telling you what, these cars are so loose right now, it's unreal. I mean, off of turn 2 and off of turn 4, they're just sideways like crazy. And you know, the banking really falls off of turn 2. It looks like it's worse there, but I haven't seen cars this many get this loose in a long time, guys.
And what he's watching his watch for is because sunset is 7:24 local time. Some of these guys could use the help, Doc.
There's a sport in California called drifting where you drive a car sideways. But, folks, this is NASCAR Sprint Cup at 200 miles an hour. Watch this.
You don't think these things are hard to drive? You watch this right here. Look at Junior sideways. Here comes Kyle Busch sideways. Look at him here.
Oh, my gosh.
Wait a minute. There's still some more.
Eric Almirola in the 8 car.
Goodness gracious.
Like you said, Andy, it's not like they're running 100 miles an hour off the corner of Richmond. This is almost 200.
And as you said, DJ, most of those cars we saw, those are guys in the chase.
Yeah, these are the better cars that we're watching. Look at Carl Edwards work the steering wheel here.
Gosh.
He's down on the apron. That's literally, folks, the apron of the racetrack. There's no banking there. Matter of fact, it's almost off camber the other way. He's just trying to find some grip and be able to get his car through the center of the corner and off the corner as much as he can.
Then Jimmie Johnson, while these guys are sawing the wheel, is beating these guys like a half a second a lap.
Carl was really working. He was really, really working the wheel there.
It is official. Jimmie Johnson, the reigning and 2-time NASCAR Sprint Cup champion, has clinched the spot in the chase.
Let's watch Jimmie Johnson, see if he's sawing his wheel like Carl.
Out of the throttle there.
Nice and smooth. His car looks like it's going a lot better.
Looks like he's in the mall parking lot.
Could be why he's beating him a half a second a lap. There's only 3/10 the last lap.
Yeah, Jimmie says, okay, yeah, all this talk about Carl and Kyle. Guys, I've won 2 titles in a row. Yeah, remember me?
Yeah, and I don't think we listened to him. I don't think he's too upset. Yeah, you heard him say, if you watch the countdown show, that the only thing that upset was he wanted to be in that position. It doesn't, you know, those were the guys that should be getting the credit because they were winning.
Let's see if Kyle Busch is sawing his wheel like that too. I've seen this car sideways at least a half a dozen times. Wow. Okay, let's try that groove. That's a fun straightaway. Trying to cut the distance off right there.
He's headed to Palm Springs.
I understand getting away from somebody trying to side draft you, but that may have been a little extreme there. But
you got to try anything.
Why should I question him? He's won 8 times in leading the points.
Yeah, and David Reagan, by the way, behind him says, please don't do anything wrong because I need to get in the chase.
And green flag stops are coming.
We'll take a break and come back and cover the green flag stop, providing someone doesn't get sideways and slap the wall while we're gone. Back in a moment.
I've been figuring the line throwing caution to the wind was coming all night long since that light fell off early in the race, but we are under green right now as the sun heads down in the western sky at the Auto Club Speedway of Southern California. How's that visibility working out right now?
It's working pretty good right now. As you can see, getting down into turn 3, the drivers got much better visibility now as the sun's going down, so the sun's not an issue now.
Oh, sun's starting to melt behind those billboards and the racetrack's starting to cool off just a little bit. We're getting ready to really see some action here as we go forward.
Green flag pit stops coming up. Nothing has cooled off Jimmie Johnson so far. In fact, Doc, as the sun has gotten lower and more of this track has gotten into shadow, he's opened up an even bigger lead.
Alan, he has the air temperature and the track temperatures are dropping a little bit here. Remember how it was a year ago when it was 114 degrees here. He has been much milder here for this fall race.
That's the key thing. The track temperature goes down quite a bit when the sun comes down, and that's what really changes the race cars and the racetrack.
Green flag stops 6 to 9 laps away as we move in on the halfway point.
Yeah, the track temp was about 114 when the race started. It's down to 97 right now, and I think when you see this temperature as the sun goes down, it's going to really come down, and it'll probably get down in the lower 80s as it gets nighttime, and that's going to make a huge difference in the racetrack.
Brian Vickers in the 83 has run third. Remember, he ran so well at the sister track, Michigan, just a couple of weeks ago, leading 21 laps and having a great top 10 finish. Finished 7th there.
It's pretty impressive since we showed their problems on their pit stop. He was back outside the top 10 and has driven his way all the way back to third during this green flag run.
Yeah, if he just joined our coverage, he came in third position and lost 10 spots in the pits because of a dropped lug nut.
If you're going to make a mistake in the race on pit road, best to make it early, and you got a lot of time to make it up.
More on Vickers from Shannon.
Yeah, Doc, Brian Vickers was struggling a little bit with the setup of that car during the race on that last pit stop. They made a track bar adjustment and some air pressure. Now he loves that car. He says it's much better than last time. It's good in the middle, but just a little bit loose off. So expect them to make some changes on this next pit stop to get that car perfect.
Thanks, Shannon. And the pit stop cycle starting. Ben McMurray on pit road. Robbie Gordon in for his stop. Remember, we've had only one car out of the race. Joe Nemechek, everyone else in, and almost every car except for one was on the lead lap. These guys on pit road will go down a lap to the leader.
All clear, all clear, all clear. 4800, line.
Robbie Gordon, one of 7 California natives in the field, down for his first green flag stop.
Along with Dale Jr. here, who's back in 15th spot right now. He's about 23 seconds behind the leader.
These guys have run about 40 laps since our last restart.
Coming to the pit road now. He needs some adjustment. He really was hoping for a caution to be able to make some more adjustments on this, but then obviously the adjustments now will have to be extremely quick.
There'll be a parade of them coming down now. Dave?
Yeah, you can't plan on those cautions, can you? Here he comes into his pit stall right now. Tony Eury Jr., his crew chief, said, you know what, I think this whole deal is going to work backwards. Some of the stuff we did at the start is going to happen, back in the other direction when we come back. So right now, he said the car is pretty neutral, and they're just going to make a slight air pressure adjustment for Dale Jr. He's been fighting a loose race car all night, guys, as we've seen, and the car still feels yawed out to him. So, slow on that left side, though. That's going to cost him time, especially under green.
And
And Jimmie Johnson came over the radio toward the end of this run saying it's getting tighter and tighter. Jack Knaus's response was, just be calm, be poised, we have a plan. They go to work on the right side of the car, and they're also going to work on the chassis. Another track bar adjustment for the 48. That is the way they're going to attack this. They were anticipating changes to the racetrack as the sun began to set. Another good stop for the 48, Shannon.
Yeah, Brian Vickers right now pulling his car into the pit stall. Right now they're going to work on that car. I told you just needed a little bit. 4 tires for Brian Vickers. Mike.
And the 99 having a bit of an unpredictable, uncharacteristic run, running toward top 10 when we expected them to run for the lead. They had a vibration earlier, but Carl came over the radio before that stop saying the car has begun to come to them. Their whole game plan has revolved around the sun setting, Dave.
Denny Hamlin complained, my car is getting looser and looser. Crew chief Mike Ford said, let's put that track bar back. The wrench will go through the window. They'll make that adjustment to get it back down where it was. Also air pressure adjustment for the 11 car. He had been running third and worked his way up into that position. A strong run from a mid-pack qualifying effort. Mike?
Before the last round of pit stops, Greg Biffle radioed in saying he was loose in, letting loose off, tight in the center. It hasn't changed much. Again, they'll make an air pressure adjustment. 4 tires for the 16.
David Reagan in for his pit stop. Most of the guys here saying the car is tight, with the exception of the 11 car of Hamlin saying he was loose and needed an adjustment. Here's the 18 car of Kyle Busch in.
Be ready, be ready, be ready. All the way, all the way.
17, Kenseth in. Jamie.
Now Kenseth's just saying he's loose in, and then it gets worse as the run goes. They're just going to make an air pressure adjustment for that. 4 tires, fuel. The 17's down and away, guys.
This is the time of the race, as Carl Edwards said yesterday, when the sun gets down, that the grip level, as he put it, goes through the roof.
Here's Jeff Gordon staying on the racetrack to lead a lap. He's now the leader.
Doesn't want to stay out there long, though. No. He'll lose a lot of time to the guys that have got fresh tires, and I think he's coming in this lap. He's got those 5 bonus points, trying to ensure that they are going to be in the chase.
81 race winner. 3 of those 81 victories have come at this racetrack, including the very first race run here back in 1997. He has yet to win in 2008. Would love to get that to change that stat here tonight. 55 miles an hour. Shannon.
Yeah, Doc, Jeff Gordon came into this race 9th in the point standings. Right now, he says his car is so loose. He actually says it feels like he might have a back tire going down. That is how loose it is. So you see those adjustments being made on the 24 car. 4 tires for Jeff Gordon. Those guys going to work. Jeff Gordon is down and away.
One thing I've noticed on a lot of these cars, and Jimmie Johnson's one of them, a ton of brake dust coming off those things.
Jeff Gordon, that might explain why he was backsliding in the field. He thought he had a tire going down. There's his teammate, Jimmie Johnson, who's just having the kind of night that, well, he had the kind of night like he had last year in the chase when he won for so many races and was just so successful. He won this race a year ago from the outside front row, and Jimmie Johnson, after the frustration, when you saw those guys in the garage here this week, they were so frustrated because of the disappointment of a 33rd place finish at Bristol last week. They are making up for it here early on in California.
Just about halfway through tonight's Pepsi 500 for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series at the 2-mile Auto Club Speedway of Southern California. The sun about to set. Will the conditions change enough to offset the huge lead that Jimmie Johnson has in this race right now? Gave you our AT&T Crew Chief Challenge question a little bit earlier in the race. Which driver currently in the top 12 in points has the best chance to get their first win this season? Hard to believe some of those names haven't won yet this year. And you thought that Jeff Gordon was the most likely candidate tonight, although it's pretty close. Gordon, Stewart, Harvick, Kenseth. Jeff Gordon struggling a little bit in this race right now, back in 17th spot. Though the guys, the other guys that were in the Crew Chief Challenge are about in the same place in the standings. While Jimmie has an 8-second lead, one driver who is just on pit road has some issues. Martin Truex Jr. is coming back in, Mike.
And Alan, they had such high hopes tonight, expecting to have a pretty good run, but a loose wheel is forcing them to come back down pit road. Mike Ricci on top of the pit box, just shaking his head, Doc.
Yeah, this is, they have to change all 4 tires, because if they don't know which one it is, they're struggling still on the right side. They have to change them all to make sure they get it.
Why are we seeing this become an issue? We saw it happen late at Bristol.
It's competition. These guys are trying to beat each other off pit road, and it's just about tenths of seconds. And, you know, these guys are just going faster than they can go, really.
We saw Brian Vickers possibly have some anxious moments on this previous stop. Remember, he had already lost 10 positions on the stop prior to that.
Yeah, this team's been struggling on pit road. Last night, they struggled with the front tire, and you see here on the left side, the tire changer is going for these lug nuts. He's missing a few of them, and just wonder if he got them all. You can see it looked like he didn't think he got all 5 lug nuts tight.
He didn't think so, but the official let him go, and all that has to be is on there.
Yeah, the NASCAR rule says it just has to be on the stud.
It's up to the team to make sure it's tight.
Or in the verbiage they use in the rule book is it has to be installed.
You can see that looked like probably the pit crew coach there having a little talk with the front tire changer who has struggled and getting him calmed down just a little bit. They've got a great race car. Yeah. That's the main thing, is they have to get them calmed down and doing their job.
That's the thing, because they're going to have some real important stops coming up here later in this race, and they need to get that together. If they can make a good 2 or 3 stops at the end of this race, he can make up for some of these mistakes.
Ryan Wickers has one career victory in NASCAR Sprint Cup competition that came in October 2 years ago at Talladega, 107 races ago. Shannon.
Yeah, before that last pit stop, Ryan Vickers told his crew chief that the car was pretty good, but right now it's starting to loosen up, so they're definitely going to want to make some adjustments, because this is a great run for Brian Vickers, trying to stay in that top 5 and possibly get a win here tonight.
Ryan Vickers, what a difference a year makes. This team has really come together, and obviously right now he's not, after the troubles he's had, he's 15th in the points, 145 away from chase contention, but a win would be a huge impact and boost for this team. Speaking of winning, we talked about the 9 car and how the back-to-back 40th place finishes had put them behind the 8 ball in the chase, and we asked Casey King, what's it got to be? What do you got to do to be able to get this car in the chase?
To me, the pressure, you know, of being where we're at, being 14th in points right now, it's just all about winning. You know, we have one choice, and that's to do everything we can to win the race on Sunday night, to win the race next Saturday night. And if we don't, hopefully we're really close and right up there. And then, you know, once the points all get tallied out, you know, we see where we're at.
Pretty much sums it up. It's all about winning, and he's doing a heck of a job here. 5th right now overall.
Yeah, he's 5th, but he's still 28 points from that bubble spot. Dave?
And they're doing it on pit road as well. He's lost a couple of positions since the restart, at least lost one to Denny Hamlin. But on pit road during that cycle of pit stops, they had picked up 2 spots, and that can help you a great deal throughout the course of the night. The car had been loose again, so they did a track bar adjustment and made an air pressure adjustment as well for Casey.
Anything can happen at California, particularly at Richmond next week. There's the 6th car, David Reagan. We documented at Michigan, the sister track to this one. He had he equaled his career best finish of 3rd 2 weeks ago.
He's making some steady progress here. He's up to 15th now.
Yeah, they looked like they had made some adjustments earlier and maybe gotten the car off, but now it seems to be coming back to them a little bit. He's steadily made his way up there. He's in 15th. Not really close to the 14th spot right now. But they'll keep battling, and still we have half the race to go. Jamie?
And David Reagan been saying that his car's real free all weekend long. He said it's getting tighter on exit, but he just said just moments ago that the track's coming to him. As it cools down, it's coming around. So his car is working better, as you noted, DJ.
He's got plenty of time. But that's just something. We hear all these guys talking about these loose race cars. Man, it's unbelievable that's not usually what you hear everybody fighting at this racetrack.
The 07 car, Clint Boyer, is 12th on the racetrack, and more importantly, 12th in the point standings. He began the night with a 12-point advantage, and right now he is, you see, he has been up and down as low as 29th, currently all the way back up, approaching the top 10.
See his teammate Jeff Burton there on the higher side, kind of in the middle of the track, and then A.J. Allmendinger, who had started up front and had run up there most of the night, but had fallen back just a little bit, battling with Burton and Boyer here. You'd like to keep them behind, but don't know if that's going to happen here.
Yeah, Jeff Burton might like to help his teammate, but he can't wait on him. He's got to make the pass.
He don't want to help him like that. He's in it for himself here. He wants to try to get as good a finish as he can. This 84 car, you can see he's kind of wobbling all over the place. He's very, very loose. They're probably going to have to adjust on this car because he was good early, and he's not as good as he was.
Jeff Burton in his 500th start here. This is a guy that I look at, and just everybody has a tremendous amount of respect for Jeff Burton in that garage area. He knows so much about the race cars. He's been an innovator as far as safety goes inside of these race cars and in the driver's compartment, and just a guy that you love to race with. He does everything the right way. A great family and just a person that is really good for our sport.
The one thing I think about Jeff Burton is he's a leader down there. He seems to have taken on that role of kind of a spokesman for the drivers down there when it's touchy issues with NASCAR, let's say, like safety. He's been one of those leaders.
They call him the unofficial mayor of the garage area. Jeff Burton, the 29th driver to make his 500th career start. There's the guy they're chasing, who is the official champion for 2007 and 2006, Jimmie Johnson. And Johnson, 121 laps he has led as the sun is setting on Auto Club Speedway of Southern California, and Jimmie Johnson is setting sail.
Gillette presents Kickoff Week continues Labor Day on ESPN as Arian Foster and the Tennessee Vols take on Khalil Bell and the UCLA Bruins out here in Pasadena. College football primetime presented by Jack Links as part of College Kickoff Week presented by Gillette. ESPN tomorrow night, 8 Eastern. For more, log on to ESPN.com. We just passed halfway in tonight's NASCAR Sprint Cup Series race. Jimmie Johnson with an 8-second lead on second place. He's led all but 7 laps tonight. About the only changes of lead have happened a couple times just after restarts and then during green flag pit stops. Let's get you up to speed and check in on some of these front runners. Mike, you've got the leaders pit.
Well, Alan, I would say that Jimmie Johnson is pretty happy with this race car. It was a car that was built midsummer. It raced at Indianapolis. You remember how that went? He won the pole there and won the race from the pole. Well, started on the pole today, and doesn't look like too many cars out there can run with him. Pretty good run so far for Jimmie Johnson. Saying it's a little bit tight, but otherwise pretty strong. Meanwhile, Greg Biffle, well, he's another guy who thought he was coming into his own here, coming into this race, peaking. He said being toward the bubble, but not necessarily guaranteed in. He had to be a little bit conservative, but in the back of his mind, he felt like he was locked into the chase. He felt like he could go for the win. That's what he's doing right now. And as the sun sets, he's saying the car is definitely coming to him. Shannon?
Yeah, Mike, what a great run for Brian Vickers. Of course, he had his troubles on pit road earlier with one of those pit stops. Right now, the car is just a little bit loose under throttle. He says it just wants to move up the racetrack. You know, I spoke with his crew chief, Kevin Hamlin, this morning. I asked him if there was one part of their program that they could improve. What would it be? He said, you know, it's just a bunch of little things that we need to work on. But right now, all those little things look to be coming together for that 83 team. Dave.
2 weeks ago at Michigan, when Denny Hamlin fell out of the race, he did some damage to his team by being very critical. I talked to President J.D. Gibbs and crew chief Mike Ford this morning about that. They said we've been working with Denny to be more positive in his criticism and not to bottle everything up. Earlier today, when his crew busted off a great pit stop, here's the words he had for him.
Guys are on it today, man. Stay focused the whole race. Y'all keep giving me that, I'll give you everything I got.
He's giving him everything he's got on the racetrack, and it sounds like he's giving him everything he's got from the motivation standpoint as well. Jamie?
And Kevin Harvick behind him in the 29. Before that last stop, he said he's too loose on the longer run, so they made a wedge adjustment, an air pressure adjustment, and 4 tires. He currently keeping it in the top fit. A good performance is definitely something this team needs tonight. Mike?
Well, Jamie, a couple of weeks ago, David Ruderman's crew chief Ryan Pemberton told me he felt like this team was on the verge of a breakthrough. Michael Waltrip Racing has just begun building their own chassis. He felt like that made it a little bit more consistent and helped them build upon something. Toyota also unveiled a new engine package at Michigan. Of course, this racetrack a lot like that. It seems like they're starting to reap the fruit of their hard work, and they're running very strong right now as they run consistently inside the top 10, Dave.
Casey Kane runs behind him in the 7th position, Mike. He's had a loose race car all night, which is very fast, but he noticed a few laps ago that other guys are going faster.
I just don't know how those guys go so fast.
He He talked about Greg Biffle going further or faster than him on the Simpson restart. The 29 had passed him, the 11 had passed him. He's a little frustrated with a fast race car that's just not fast enough. Jamie?
Well, Matt Kenseth's pretty happy with the way his car is. It's coming around and getting faster as the night goes on. Now, I talked to Chip Boland, his crew chief, earlier today, and he said, this racetrack and next weekend at Richmond, we must finish in the top 10. That's the only way we can secure our spot in the chase. They came in 10th, guys, in his car so far. It's getting pretty good. It's been loose all night, right?
Well, it's time for the 99 to go. In fact, just a few laps ago, Carl Edwards ran his fastest lap of the evening. This has been their game plan all night long. Wait for the sun to go down and expect the grip to increase and move toward the front. Right now, Carl extremely happy with his race car as he surges towards the front. Dave?
Good run tonight for Juan Pablo Montoya. Remember, he started 23rd tonight. The last run, he was battling a tight race car. So when they pitted under green on lap 110, they were able to make an adjustment for him. It was just in air pressure, but only slightly. Crew Chief Brian Patty and Juan Pablo working well together after the midseason change. Mike?
Greg Zipadelli and the 20 team have done extensive work on the 20 car, trying to make it better. He's been fighting loose off tight center most of the evening. But the one thing they couldn't change, the temperatures. As it gets cooler, Greg Zipadelli keeps reminding his driver that the car should get better. That's at least their hope, because they're a little bit further away from where they'd hope to be at this point. Shannon?
Yeah, Mike, right behind him, A.J. Allmendinger in that number 84 car, currently running 12. If you listen on the radio, you would hear their crew chief and the spotter just telling A.J. what a great job he is doing today. Only his second start here at Auto Club Speedway. He ran in the top 5 for most of the race, right now falling back a little bit. He's just looking for a little more forward bite with that car. And of course, A.J.'s been very open about the fact that he has not signed on to be the driver of this car next year. So this is a great run for A.J. Allmendinger.
Shannon, through those green flag pit stops, Jeff Burton hung on to a 14th place position. He currently runs 13th right now. And what happens when a leader, you guys were talking about him earlier, what happens when the leader says, I don't know what to do? Well, he goes to another leader on his team, Scott Miller, the crew chief. And Scott Miller decided to lower the air pressure in 3 tires, all but the left front, to try to give Jeff more grip in this racetrack. Jamie?
And Clint Boyer hanging on to 14th. I talked to Gil Martin this morning. I said, what's the biggest difference with this team this year? Last year, of course, they finished 3rd in the points, and he said, Clint Boyer has a lot more pressure on him this year. Because we made the chase last year, did so well, there's a lot of added pressure. People expect him to do well. And on top of that, he's running for a championship in the Nationwide Series. He didn't have all that going on last year. So they're just trying to keep their driver prepped up, keep his confidence up, and they're motivating him throughout tonight. And behind him, David Reagan. As I mentioned a little while ago, the track is coming to him. Now, Clint Boyer needs to stay where he is ahead of David Reagan if he wants to finish like that going into the chase. David Reagan's got to get a move on, though, to gain some points to get in that top 12. Remember, he was 13th coming into this race. Doc?
Jamie, David Reagan indeed was trying to run in on the 07. Right behind him, by the way, Jeff Gordon, who qualified 3rd and has led 2 laps. And DJ, about 5 or 6 laps ago, Reagan had some issues.
Yeah, you can see the right side of David's car there had been scraping against the wall a little bit. I was watching him down in turns 1 and 2, and he got just a little bit too high. He'd been running right against the wall, but got a little bit too close. So he apparently still fighting a loose race car.
Jeff Gordon had tried to go by. Now Reagan makes the pass. Again, they are 15th and 16th, and the important thing is that Boyer is 14th right in front of Reagan. And right now they are separated by just 15 points in 12th and 13th in the chase. Scheduled pit stops should be just about 10 laps away. So we'll take a break and come back and cover those stops. Jimmie Johnson, Biffle, Vickers, Hamlin, and Rudeman. Under caution for the 5th time tonight here at Auto Club Speedway of Southern California. Debris on the racetrack, and that will allow Ryan Newman in the 12 car to get back on the lead lap, now putting us with 19 cars on the lead lap. There is Newman. You see him back behind the 48.
Yeah, a piece of debris there at the start-finish line, and then we saw a car hit it right as the caution came out.
Yeah, I don't know that we'll see it now.
Yeah, stuck in front of somebody's car now. But.
Yeah, it wasn't very long ago we were talking about having 40 cars still on the lead lap, and now when Newman gets his back, we're going to have 19 cars on the lead lap. Those two, with that long run there, where they made 2 green flag pit stops, put a lot of people lap down.
Johnson is the leader and has been for the bulk of the evening, led 5 times for 138 laps. Greg Biffle has led twice for 2 laps. Vickers is third. Hamlin and Rudeman the top 5.
Well, the sun's gone down. These pit stops should be interesting, Andy. A lot of adjustments coming here.
Yeah, you should, but we've been seeing these guys adjust the cars all night long. And that maybe this sun going down will actually help some of these cars handling.
Time to get a grip on this 2-mile oval. Leaders headed down, trying to get woed down. Kevin Harvick among them. Let's go down to Jamie.
And the team reminding him 4,500 RPM is this pit road speed. Kevin Harvick, the 29 in his pit box, said he's just loose all around. They're going to make a track bar adjustment and air pressure. Let's go to Dave.
Continuing to reverse the changes they made earlier, down on the track bar for the 11, air pressure adjustment as well, loose race car.
Brian Vickers just a little bit loose under throttle and off, so they're going to make an air pressure adjustment for this 83. Mike.
Jimmie Johnson's crew been solid all night long, ripping off stops in the 13-second range. Another good one, 4 tires. They also make a wedge and track bar adjustment to the 48 car, a little bit tight.
Wedge and track bar, huh, Andy? On the 48?
Yeah, they're just still, I mean, I can't believe they're still adjusting on that car as good as it's been. But
that's why I was surprised by what he said. Harvick up a couple of spots. Vickers back 2. Working caution for the 5th time tonight. Back with the green in just a moment.
This is America, and you have the...
As we work the caution here in California, a reminder that immediately following the race, NASCAR Now, ESPN2 with the post-race wrap-up. Then more racing action over the weekend. The NHRA Mac Tools U.S. Nationals Finals from Indianapolis. Tomorrow noon and 7 Eastern. Our NASCAR Now Roundtable wrapping up the California race. Tomorrow 5 Eastern, ESPN2. Then we go to Richmond, the Nationwide Series. Friday night, 7:30 Eastern, ESPN2. And Saturday, the race that determines who gets into the chase. The Chevy Rock and Roll 400. ABC, 7 o'clock Eastern time. That, the motorsports upcoming on the ESPN family of networks. It has been all Jimmie Johnson here so far in California tonight. He has dominated this race, leading all but 7 of the 149 laps we've run. Mike, they must feel pretty good.
I would imagine they feel pretty good, but still, you made a wedge and track bar adjustment to a car that pretty much has appeared perfect all through the night. How much do you have to adjust with the changing conditions?
Well, we're just trying to stay on top of the racetrack. We were a little bit faster than everybody else early in the day, and you know they've caught up to us a little bit, so we just want to try to stay on top of it. We're making pretty small adjustments right now just to see what it's like. I think we're going to get a challenge here from the 16 and some of these other guys now and really see what's happening now that the sun has set quite a bit. Track temperature's dropped about 20 degrees, so it's going to heat up a little bit now.
How would you describe the night so far?
It's been pretty good. You know, real happy with the Lowe's Impala SS. Jimmy's doing a great job, and Picker's doing a great job. So, you know, we just got to ride it out and see how it shakes up.
Well, Doc, we're going to let Chad go. We're about to go green.
Thanks, Mike. And we mentioned before that the only time they had a shot at Jimmie Johnson was after a pit stop, and Greg Biffle was able to get up beside him. And let's see what the adjustments. You heard Chad say there's going to be a different race now. The track is cooling off. Sun has gone down.
He's making predictions on what the track's doing and making adjustments for it. You know, they use their history at other racetracks with this kind of tire and car, and here last race, they use all this information, so they make those changes and kind of anticipate it.
Yeah, and I'm not sure I'm buying all of that they were catching up to him. He only had an 8-second lead there, so I don't know if I buy that. But you have to applaud him for staying on top of the race. They know that the track is going to change and making small adjustments, even though they might have said track bar and wedge. I'm sure it wasn't much of a turn on either one.
Yeah, it wasn't much.
Here's our Aflac trivia question for the night. And the question is, who was the last driver to win 3 Sprint Cup races in a row? Who do you think that is?
Well, I'm going to say Jimmie Johnson. I don't know. But
that's a very good guess. It is Jimmie Johnson, and by the way, he won 4 in a row, so if you count them up, that would be 3 in a row twice. Oh, how good was he in the chase a year ago, Jimmie Johnson. By the way, for you David Reagan fans, as you watch Jimmie getting the car ready to go back to green, Reagan stayed on the racetrack to lead a lap and get those 5 bonus points when everyone else pitted. And remember that, folks, those points are very important.
He gave up about 3 spots to do that. He came in the caution 15th when it came out. He's now 18th on the track.
Apparently weren't concerned about what little he got into the wall either, because they came in, just changed tires. They didn't work on the car at all.
Showing 19 points back of Boyer. You see he's 4 positions behind him on the racetrack. NASCAR giving us, we're going to add one more lap of caution. They're going to pick up some more debris in turn 4. Showing 19 cars on the lead lap. The only car that's out of the race is Joe Nemechek, who had a very, very hard lick back on lap 68 when he slapped the wall. Pancaked the right side of the car. Joe was okay, got out of the car, but he is back in the garage area. He is out. There are still 42 cars that are running here at 150 of 200 laps.
They get one to go. That time by.
Let's visit with our in-race reporter, Carl Edwards, who's being shown in 7th position.
Carl, Dale Jarrett, you have a copy?
Out of clear, Dale.
All right. Any adjustments this pit stop to the changing conditions here?
Yeah, but not the direction we thought. You know, we thought the track was going to change a lot, but it's been, it's been staying kind of the same, so we just been chasing the car. I think it's going to be pretty good. That last run we were real good at the end. Bob said we were almost as fast as Jimmy or a little faster. So hopefully that's the same here. But it's real tough to find a line to run on, you know.
Yeah, we've seen you searching around a lot. You haven't found that where you're going to be the best here at the end?
Not yet, man. I still think it's going to change a lot. 100 laps to go. You know, I got to get up there to race with Jimmy and those guys to see where they're running. I still don't quite know where they're at, so I'm working on it.
All right, man. Come to the green. Good luck.
10-4. If you see anything, you let me know next time.
Oh, you got to love a sense of humor. Carl Edwards, remember, hey, he chased Kyle Busch last week at Bristol. Kyle had 415 laps, and Carl caught him with 30 to go. And we all know what happened. 99 laps to go here. Jimmie Johnson, wow, 142 of 151 laps he has led. Greg Biffle, can he do something with him on the restart?
He was able to do something with him on the initial laps on the last restart.
That's been a while back, and he got there just enough to lead one lap, and then Jimmy stretched it out at there. It looks like Jimmy's car maybe starts off really loose. He's not able to get out after the throttle as much. But this will be Biffle and Denny Hamlin's chance to get up there and see if they can take that lead away.
Chevy, Ford, Toyota. That's a top 3. Then Harvick back in another Chevrolet.
On the inside line, that's Bobby Labonte and Patrick Carpentier, who had just been lapped earlier. So they're going to be battling for that spot just in case we have a quick caution. Get that lap back.
Traffic. Some of these guys trying to work their way through the field. Pit stops have just happened, Rusty, and this racetrack here, you got less than 100 laps to go. Lots of traffic, lots of areas to pick from here in terms of groove on the racetrack.
Well, Jerry, what's going on right now? What I'm watching is totally opposite of what I've been seeing many years in NASCAR racing, and that's that almost everybody's car is loose. It seems like when the darkness comes and the track cools off, everybody always gets tighter. We're not seeing that with these cars. We didn't see it last night either. And DJ, I just got to wonder if it's because of the coil bind suspensions, the nose is running so low in these cars nowadays, and the car's so dependent on the front end, if that's the reason they're so sensitive.
Yeah, I think you're pretty much dead on it there, Rusty. It seems like that and the tires have a lot to do with it. And what they seem to pick up as the track gains grip, they pick up front grip. And so that's making the car turn better, but the back end is yawed out so much to make these cars turn before that they can't get it tightened back up then.
Let's don't forget, though, guys, that these guys do so much to make the cars turn. They've got these real loose setups, some big right rear springs. They've done so many things to make these cars not push. They finally kind of tipped it over on the other side of it. Yeah, we see it with even with the Nationwide car.
It sounds like, Andy, they've kind of got over the other side a little bit because we haven't seen this much at all. But I will tell you, as a driver, I couldn't stand a car that pushed the front end, and now this is completely the opposite. You would think it'd be pretty easy to get these cars hooked up in the back by maybe, dropping some air out of the right rear tire, putting a wedge in it, lowering the track bar on the right side. All three of those things will help tighten the car up, but I'm sure a lot of these teams are already doing it.
Guys, David Reagan really driving the wheels off that 6 car. Got by the 07, and now the 07 Boyer and Jeff Gordon and Burton will try to use the bottom of the racetrack to go back by Reagan.
We These guys are really fighting for that spot. That last spot in the chase, they want it bad. Jamie?
Well, they decided to take a little bit of a chance with David Reagan. You guys, we touched on, they stayed out to lead a lap to get those extra points, but then he got shuffled back quite a bit. But you guys talked about him maybe brushing the wall, and that certainly was the case. His spotter even made him drop down a groove so he could see, and of course, he did get some paint rubbed off of that right side, but all was okay. They didn't need to make any adjustments for David Reagan.
So, Jamie, he did indeed dodge a bullet by scraping the wall up there, and he needs to be able to stay strong. If he can just stay in contention here, talking to those guys, when we get to Richmond, they should have something for him.
Well, as they run right now, they're just 2 points apart for that spot, and the 6 car is the one that's in.
See a lot of shuffling back in there. There's a lot of racing going on right in that area, and that's right where Clint Boyer is. David Reagan's got himself out in front of that just a little bit. But Boyer's got himself right in the middle of all of that going on.
Jeff Gordon trying to go by the 1 car of Truex. Gordon being shown in 18th position. He is the next to the last car on the lead lap. There are 19 cars still on the lead lap, with Ryan Newman the only car behind him.
A little surprised at this run, Andy. I think we all thought after Michigan, even though they had a problem, that they were going to be a lot better here.
I thought they were going to be a lot better, but one of the problems I've seen on this 24 car is it's hitting the splitter almost all night long. It's like they've missed it just a little bit with the bump stops or whatever, and it's causing some problems getting in the corner.
Well, how do you fix it? I know you got to have a pit stop and maybe a caution flag pit stop, but how do you fix it?
You could put it. They got little packers that go in there that basically space that bump stop to limit the travel just a little bit more. They could fix it, but it would take a little bit of time.
For you Dale Earnhardt Jr. fans who came into tonight 4th in the point standings, he has not had the kind of night he would like to have in terms of winning, but he has clinched a spot in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. It is official. So now we do have 4 drivers who have clinched into the chase, and regardless of what happens at Richmond 1 week from now. So Earnhardt Jr. will be in the chase. Back with more from California, 92 laps to go. Welcome back to the Pepsi 500 here at Auto Club Speedway. We are again under a yellow flag. Lap 160, caution number 6 on the night, and debris on the racetrack. Let's show you exactly, for the second time tonight, we've got debris coming off a part of a light.
It's the same kind of caution light that fell on the racetrack. You can see right there, a piece of that light falls down. A couple cars miss it here, and then finally a couple of them hit it. Jeff Gordon looks like he got a piece of it. I'm not so sure that this wasn't a piece of that light from the last caution we had. It was right there at the same spot.
Watch this piece just sail by, right by Jeff Burton's car. I've said it before, but these cars are like so much turbulence, move the air so much that it's buffeting these lights. Leaders will take the opportunity to come on to pit road once again. Jimmie Johnson will lead them down. Biffle, Hamlin, Harvick, Edwards. Jamie.
And Kevin Harvick saying the back is good now. He just needs a little more grip on that front, so they're making an air pressure adjustment to the 2 front tires for the 29. Dave?
A 2-inch piece of tape on the nose of the 11 will help it run a little more optimum temperature-wise. They're going to make an air pressure adjustment on the right rear to compensate for that. Mike?
Dave, you heard Chad Canal saying they're trying to keep up with the racetrack. Well, to do so this time, Jimmie Johnson looking for a little bit more front grip, a 4-tire change, a little bit of an air pressure adjustment, that's all. A solid stop again for the 48, down off the jacks and away.
A little bit of a congestion there exiting pit road. Looks like the 99. And the 16 car, 2 tires, gains a spot, and Biffle, the first among the leaders, off of the pits, and Edwards, Allmendinger, Newman up 14 positions.
ESPN's coverage of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series from beautiful Southern California. Look at that scene that these fans in the grandstands at Auto Club Speedway are getting to witness now as we are past halfway of tonight's Pepsi 500. First time we've seen someone other than Jimmie Johnson out front for quite a while. Mike, it's Greg Biffle this time.
And that's because of an aggressive move, aggressive call by Greg Irwin, his crew chief, for 2 tires. Why the 2-tire change instead of 4?
Just trying to stay up front. 8 or 9 laps on left sides. We've got enough history here at this racetrack. We were 2 tires several times. February. We just want to keep the thing up in clean air, keep the 3M Fusion where it belongs, and hopefully get the best finish we can get out of it. Didn't want to take a chance of giving up any spots there.
And Shannon, you certainly can't discount the value of that clean air out front.
Yeah, Mike, down here with Kevin Hamlin, crew chief for Brian Vickers. 2-tire call. What made you guys go with 2 tires only?
Well, that was a short run, that last run, so track position is very important here. And as you can see, everybody back, I believe the 12th car even behind us was, everybody did 2 tires right there. And I don't know, we'll just see how it shakes out.
Yeah, and if you look in front of the 83 right now, it's the 84 of A.J. Allmendinger, right sides for that team as well. Alan?
When those pit stops ended and the cars came off pit road, Rusty just about jumped out of his chair.
Well, I really did. I told you this is a defining moment in the race in my eyes, because this is the first time that Jimmie Johnson's not been leading this race. Now, Brad, is he strong enough to get from 6th back to the lead?
I think he has a strong enough hot rod, Rusty. He has been so stout all day long. They've made some minor adjustments on that race car. It's going to be interesting to watch, but Greg Biffle is looking for this opportunity to try to lead some laps. So I believe he's got a good ride.
Good time to see if 2 tires will work also, Alan. I really agree with a lot of these crew chiefs what they did.
85 to go, Doc. We're about to find out.
We are indeed, guys, and what's going to happen with Jimmie Johnson back in traffic? By the way, for you Ryan Newman fans, he took fuel only. That's why he gained 14 spots on that stop. Pace car off. Let's listen in as we go full throttle.
All right, get ready. Green, green, green. Up. Clear. 3 wide. Still there. Still there. Still there. Inside. Cars in your mirror. In your mirror. Still inside. Outside. Inside. Higher still. Clear. Clear by 2. Outside.
Jimmie Johnson looking back, and the images in your mirror are getting farther and farther away. It says to Jimmie Johnson because he is flying.
He's got 4 tires on this car. He's had the best car all night. I think it's a good move for Greg Biffle's bunch to just try 2 tires and see what they can do with him. That's the only shot they really have. Might not pay off.
Yeah, when you've got a car as good as what Jimmie Johnson has here, you can get 4 tires. You only drop back to 6th spot there. That's not going to be anything for him to make up. He's passed 5 cars before we finish the lap.
Yeah, Jimmie wasn't going to waste any time on the restart. The 83 car, 2 tires for Vickers. He just sails by on the high side, 3 wide.
Okay, there's 2 cars he's passed. Okay, here's 2 more. That's in one straightaway.
Yeah. He was fortunate. Brian Vickers gave him that outside there. It looked like Brian might slide up in front of him, but Brian did the right thing and gave him that spot. And now he's up here 1 car length back to Greg Biffle right now for the lead. He is one out there most of the night.
One key thing here is that on that restart, this last caution, they've got enough fuel, most of these guys, that they can do it in 1 stop from here.
But the guys who took 2 tires, they're going to have to, well, they'll have to come in and take 4, right?
Oh, absolutely. They'll get 4 under green. The only time you can really have that 2-tire option is after you've only run a few laps under caution. And you're not going to take a whole full load of fuel, and you can just be there for 7 or 8 seconds and get back out there.
The only thing I question there, Andy, with 2 tires on a slick racetrack, I know it's nighttime now, and there is some more grip out there, but even at night, this place doesn't have a lot of grip. And you really just need all that you can get. And we'll see how it shakes out as they run on here. It may not play out to be anything. Biffle was in 2nd whenever they went out onto pit road, and that's where he sits right now.
Our Wrangler telemetry for Jimmie Johnson. At the beginning of the race, we saw him sailing into the corner at some 206 or 207 miles an hour.
This is up the back stretch right here. Or actually, no, this is down the front straightaway. You'll see that big number again. 203 miles an hour.
Carl wanted me to get back to him. I guess I can tell him that Jimmy's not using a lot of brake and a lot of throttle.
I'll tell you what, guys, that was a key pit stop. I called it a defining moment. One thing got defined was that Jimmie Johnson is the fastest car on the racetrack for sure, and that 2 tires don't work. So at least these guys know now, late in the run, if they got a 30-lap run, I don't think just putting 2 on is going to work. I mean, Johnson passed 5 cars in 2 laps, so at least they found out with 81 to go, guys.
Maybe if they'll put 2 tires on Jimmy's car, it'll work.
it'll work for the rest of the field. But what a great run he's having right now. I mean, I haven't seen a car this strong, guys, in such a long time. But it's hard to believe that 2 tires, you know, are that bad compared to against 4.
The last time I saw a car this strong, Rusty, was at Indianapolis, and it was the same car.
Wait a minute, both of you. Last time we saw a car this strong was last week at Bristol when Kyle Busch led 415 laps. And did he win that race?
Well, not.
I'm hearing crickets. The answer is no.
Bump in the back, I believe.
The answer is no. We got a long way to go yet. Come on.
So you say it's not a long way to go, that's for sure. But we're starting to figure out what tires are doing, that's for sure, guys.
Oh, baby, here's a mess back in the pack. David Reagan's got to be careful. Reed Sorensen in the 41. 77 of Hornish. Reagan getting some drafting help from behind by Jeff Burton. Burton saying, I'm staying here because I want to be able to get a shot around you.
Yeah, Reagan's falling back to 18th spot, so he's got some positions to make up. Clint Boyer's about 3 spots ahead of him, or 2.
There are 20 cars on the lead lap, and all of them are chasing that guy, Jimmie Johnson, lap 171.
Here is our McDonald's race rundown. Had a couple of issues with the caution lights. Turbulence created by these cars, something. But twice now tonight we've had cautions for caution lights. A little bit unusual.
And talking about total domination, Jimmie Johnson so far has led 161 laps out of 175. This guy has just been flying all night long, and nobody can catch him.
And the Bubble Boys, Clint Boyer in particular, right now, if we finish under this circumstances, he's got a 16-point lead for that 12th spot. Denny Hamlin's run very strong. He's been in the top 10 all day long. It's interesting. All of our bubble guys, all of our chase guys actually are in the top 19. So it's going to be interesting to see how they finish up.
Jimmie Johnson dominated until a couple minutes ago when Greg Biffle's team took 2 tires on a set of pit stops. It set Johnson back to 6th in line for the restart. No problem. Steamed around them all in a couple laps. Took the lead back from Greg Biffle and has since pulled away to about 1 7/10 seconds of an advantage. Our McDonald's race rundown. Jimmie Johnson has been the man. We've had 6 cautions so far tonight. Almost all of them have been for debris in one form or another. And 7 different drivers have led. But again, that's a little misleading because that's all been for the most part during green flag pit stops. It's been Jimmie Johnson out front early and out front often. Only a couple cars out of the race. Johnny Sauter and Joe Nemechek are in the garage. 20 of the 43 starters are on the lead lap, and that's the way things stand with 73 laps to go here in Southern California. Johnson leading Greg Biffle, Carl Edwards, A.J. Allmendinger, and Brian Vickers, Doc.
Jimmie Johnson, just the kind of night he wanted to have here. And we mentioned he's a 2-time winner this year. And the last time he went to victory lane was in this exact same car. As you watch the 11 and 83. And they are battling for 5th position. Brian Vickers. Denny Hamlin. Hamlin finishing 3rd last week at Bristol. The 12 car, remember we mentioned that Ryan Newman had hit some debris, got a lap down, got the free pass to get back on the lead lap, and he gained 15 positions. He was in 19th spot, the last car on the lead lap on that pit stop. We are being told now they did change 2 tires on the 12 car. We thought because he gained so many spots that it was fuel only, but that is not the case. We're now being told they did put 2 tires on that 12 car.
Yeah, we've seen this 2-tire deal is not working too bad for some of these guys. I mean, Jimmie Johnson's fast no matter how many tires they put on.
Yeah, he's been at least this fast, much faster than the rest of the field. They're really holding on pretty good, and this has worked great for Ryan Newman so far. You know, they were well outside the top 15, and we see Jimmie Johnson right here. He's got just over a 2-second lead, but he's beaten these guys by somewhere between a 10th and a half a lap, and he was doing that when everybody had 4 tires.
And another big winner is A.J. Allmendinger. He's moved up quite well too. He's in 4th spot.
Speaking of the 12 car, Ryan Newman obviously leaving that car at the end of this year to go drive with Stuart Haas Racing in 2009. A lot of speculation that maybe within a week David Strimmy will be named as the driver to replace that Ryan Newman in the 12 car. Streamy, who's been driving basically full-time in the NASCAR Nationwide Series for Rusty Wallace Incorporated here in 2008.
Hey, you mentioned who he's going to drive for. We really haven't said Tony Stewart's name all night long. He's sitting in 14th spot, and that's kind of where he's been running most of the night. He hasn't been spectacular, but he hasn't, he hasn't obviously gotten lapped or anything like that. It's just been kind of a so-so run. We have to see Robbie Gordon spinning here.
He picks up some grass, so he spins around, doesn't hit anything.
Running off it, I'm sure.
I'm surprised we haven't seen a ton of cars spin out as loose as these cars have been all night.
Plowed up some turf there with the splitter on the front of his Dodge.
Okay, but I'm pretty sure that's ripped the front end off it.
It looks better than you think, Robbie. It does have some damage, but these things are pretty tough.
These guys getting down the apron and stuff. Oh, no, he's up at the wall.
Hang on to her. Just can't quite get it back straight right here. See, he picks up a ton of that dirt and grass up in that splitter.
That's where he's thinking that he got a lot of damage to that front splitter, but doesn't look like from here. Well, he's got some of the braces loose, though, doesn't he?
And a lot of good grass up on the racetrack.
Have to clean that up.
Yeah, change strategies now, too, because I'm sure they're going to come back in for tires here, and now it obviously is not a one. It's still going to be. Yeah. They're going to have to pit again.
They won't have to stretch it the way it was. They were going to stretch those runs. Now it's an easy one-stop race.
And if you're the guys behind Jimmie Johnson, if you're Biffle and Edwards and Allmendinger and those guys, what do you do? I mean, what can you do? I mean, no one's been able to touch him.
Right now, they got to get 4 tires. The guys that took 2, they'll take 4 this time. I'm sure Jimmy's going to take 4.
Yeah, well, he's forced their hand now. They've seen that, so they have to come get 4 tires. And that way, now Jimmie and them, they've been beating everybody out of the pits all night anyway, so they can go ahead with their same strategy and get 4 tires. Carl Edwards' car was pretty good there on those 2 tires. I mean, a couple laps.
A few laps there, he actually beat Jimmie Johnson.
And I'll remind you that in the spring in February, Jimmie Johnson at this racetrack led the most laps, but in the final laps, it wasn't Jimmie Johnson, it was Carl Edwards that was able to make the pass and take his car to victory lane. That was the first of Carl's 6 wins, by the way, this year. A lot of racing yet to come here. We are a long way from being done. Still 69 laps to go.
Talk to Carl. He seemed to still be pretty confident he could be a factor in this race.
Dave?
Denny Hamlin needs grip off of turn 2 on throttle. Talk about an exact adjustment. 3/8 of a round of wedge down in the left rear. 4 fresh tires for Denny. Mike?
And Carl Edwards saying he's a little bit free and he's going to call for a 4-tire change, looking to help that car just a little bit. Meanwhile, middle of your box, Greg Biffle really happy to see that sunset. Said the car's coming to him, it turns much better. They're going to go with 4 tires this time and also make a 1/4-pound air pressure adjustment and put a round in the right rear. Jimmie Johnson, he was evaluating the other team's decision to go with 2 tires not too long ago. He said that was the wrong way to go. He elected to go with 4 this time around, but he did lose the race off pit road. Biffle wins that race.
Yeah, he saw Jimmie Johnson's crew. His jack man got tangled up in the air hose. It cost him a lot of spots.
3 positions it cost Jimmie Johnson. Another good pit stop for Biffle's bunch in the 16. 13.1 second stop for Greg Irwin and company. Back in Fontana, California, looking at the Lowe's crew. Now, this bunch here rarely makes a mistake. I mean, they have almost been flawless for the last couple of years. Thus, their driver has won back-to-back titles. But could this be today's Sprint Cup monster moment? Watch a moment ago here in the pits and watch the Jackman.
It's going great here. You see these guys making a good stop, just like normal. It's right rear tire changer. You can see how they bring that hose around and they try to get it completely out of the tire changer's way by looping it behind him. They make this change. Everything's going good so far. And right there, that hose just loops up and catches the left leg of that jackman. That one detail cost him quite a few spots off pit road.
That allowed the Greg Biffle actually to beat them off of pit road by virtue of his 13.1 second stop. For more monster moments, check out NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile. See Biffle there beating on. There's Biffle, the 16 car, beating him off of pit road. They had a 13.1 second stop. Carl Edwards was by. There's Jimmie finally off. So Johnson now back in 6th place again, where he was on the previous restart. Took him almost 2 laps to get to the lead last time.
Yeah, it might be a little more difficult. David Rudiman's actually the leader here. I assume, I haven't gotten word yet, I assume they just took 2 tires that time. I think they'd gotten 4 the last time, and they saw that work pretty good for some other people. So I believe the 44 car with David Rudiman is on a sequence of just having 2 tires right here.
David becomes the 9th different driver to lead tonight. There have been 18 lead changes. Set a record here back in February. 33 lead changes. By the way, Dale Jarrett, one of those 33 leaders, back here when they ran the first time in February.
One difference we got on this restart is we had Jimmie Johnson in 6th spot with almost everyone in front having just 2 tires. Now most of these guys, except for David Rudiman, have 4. It might not be quite as easy for Jimmie to get back to the front.
Exactly right. Yeah, it's going to be definitely more of a challenge. There's no doubt about that.
Folks, next Saturday night we are going to rock and roll in Richmond, NASCAR Sprint Cup Series style. It's the Chevy Rock and Roll 400. Coverage begins at 7 o'clock Eastern time with NASCAR Countdown. Alan Bastwick, Brad, Rusty, all the gang. We're going to find out exactly who's going to be in this chase for 2008. Folks, you don't want to miss that one. That should be a lot of fun to watch. Again, 7 o'clock Eastern time. And get your ticket to the chase, www.nascar.com/tickets. There's a look at the chase and all those events on ABC, beginning at New Hampshire. And, of course, Homestead Miami Speedway. It comes to a close on November 16th. And next year, by the way, there is being a little bit of a shuffle in the schedule. This race will be among those 10 races in the chase. Atlanta will take this date. And this date will actually, this track will have the Talladega date, and Talladega will go to the Atlanta date. And if you understand all that, you must do your own income tax return. But in any event, this race here will be in the chase in 2009. I think that's a good move to have Atlanta have this Labor Day weekend date in the South, like they did with the old Southern 500 at Darlington. Be able to come out here when it's a little bit cooler.
Yeah, I don't know if we mentioned it or not, but Brian Vickers did have to come back down pit road or go to the tail end of the longest line because he lost control of one of the tires.
Yeah, Bobby Labonte got the free pass there, so he's back on the lead lap. We now have 21 cars on the lead lap.
Brian Vickers' pit crew really cost him a ton of spots tonight.
They're making it difficult for him. He's got a really good race car, but they've had their issues tonight.
And we have confirmed, by the way, that 2 tires on the 44 car of David Rudiman, who is the leader. It is Rudiman, Biffle, Edwards, Hamlin, Harvick, and then Jimmie Johnson back in 6th position. 65 to go. There's Jimmie Johnson, where he has rarely been through much of the day, and that is back in traffic.
Don't worry about that much. David Rudiman gets a good start there. Kurt Busch, who lost a lap early in this race, trying to get that back. He's actually passed the leader. He would be back on the. He had a tire issue early in the race.
Martin Truex likewise a lap down. He is now back on the lead lap, just in front of the leader in the 1 car. Leader is the 44, then the 16 and 99. So it's Rudiman, Biffle, and Biffle's teammate Carl Edwards. And whoa, Edwards goes downstairs, and Biffle takes the spot away. Let's listen to Jimmie Johnson's radio.
Practice, boys. I mean, we're going to be in these pressure-packed situations next 12 weeks, 10 weeks especially. So learn how to shake off what you didn't like there and find that rhythm again.
So you drive, and you're also a cheerleader, and you also got to pump everybody up and make sure you appreciate what they do. You know they can get it done.
Yeah, that's what champions do. These guys, he knows exactly those guys are good. Week in, week out, stop every single stop, and you're going to have problems somewhere along the way. He makes mistakes as a driver sometimes, and they stick behind him. That's what it takes to win this.
Rarely will we see this where the 18 car is not a factor in terms of not even leading laps here. Kyle Busch has not led a lap tonight, and I don't know how many times I can say that this year. Up front, 48 car, Jimmie Johnson trying to go by Biffle for the lead.
Biffle's not going to give it to him here.
And you can see Biffle get over there on the side of that car to slow it down just a little bit, taking what downforce he had away from it. They'll make it harder for Jimmie Johnson, although I think he's probably clear in this.
I think he can get it done, but Biffle just not going to give it to him.
Clear, clear.
It turned out to be a pretty special race car for the 48 team. They built that thing new and took it to Indy. And never got to see it run a long run there because we had those 10-lap runs.
Yeah.
He's proven that the car's good short runs and long runs here.
Yeah, we documented many times there of how much speed it had, but we had no idea of what it would be like because of the issues that they had there. But he's shown here that the car is fast throughout a run, as we had 2 different times we made green flag pit stops tonight.
Jimmie Johnson and his whole team serving notice that, hey, folks, when this chase begins in a couple of weeks, hey, you know, we're going to be a force of contention, just like a year ago. Remember, Chad Knaus had a little bit of a probation, was gone for some of July and August. He came back, and they just roared into the chase. 99 car, Carl Edwards trying to move in on David Rudiman. That is 4th and 5th.
Maybe Carl on that last run, he got up to 3rd and looked like he had enough speed maybe to be a challenger for Jimmie Johnson, but he doesn't have it here on this restart. You see him trying to go around the outside of David Rudiman now.
The 2 tires seem to work pretty good. See Rudiman now, he's pointing to the inside.
These cars really bounce as they get down, how rough the bottom of the racetrack is, and with these bump stops.
We mentioned that Kyle Busch had not.
He's going to get real mad this time that he didn't let me go. Just shoot him, buddy. Just take it easy here. You get him.
We mentioned Kyle Busch has not led a lap. Carl Edwards likewise has not led a single lap tonight, which is pretty rare for him, particularly at this track here where he has been very good. Less than 60 laps to go, and let's see if Cousin Carl can get the 44 car, and he will indeed go by Rudiman and take the 4th spot away. Jimmie Johnson back where he has been most of the night as the leader. Biffle, Hamlin, Edwards, and Rudiman in the top 5.
The Pepsi 500 from Southern California rolls on. 55 laps to go tonight. Second to last race in the race to the chase to determine who will compete for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Championship. And down here in the pit studio, we've been tracking the drivers who could possibly clinch tonight. We told you earlier, Jimmie Johnson and Dale Earnhardt Jr. have clinched their place in the chase tonight. Greg Biffle is in position to do it if things stay as they are right now. Drivers got to be leading 13th place by 196 points or better at the end of the night to be totally locked in. Biffle at this moment running second on the track is 196 points ahead of 13th place. Next driver back in the point standings as they run is Tony Stewart. He would not be in position to clinch at the moment. Stewart is 159 points ahead of 13th place. Stewart running 17th on the racetrack, so that means basically Stewart's got to show up in Richmond and start the race in order to assure his place in the chase. Gets a little murkier farther back. Kevin Harvick right now showing 159 points ahead of 13th place as they run on the racetrack. Harvick is 6th in the running order tonight, and so Harvick will have to do a little bit more than just start at Richmond to clinch his place in the chase again as they run right now. And then Jeff Gordon. Man, what a lousy night this has been for him. So many expectations at the start of the night, Rusty and Brad, and here's Gordon mucking around back there at 14th place in the field after he thought he had a chance to win, and Gordon is not at the moment in position to lock himself up tonight here in California.
He's not. Well, David Reagan, though, he's in 13th right now, 16 points out of the top 12. He's got to step it up. He's having a pretty good night, but he's just got to get more points yet. Clint Boyer, he's holding on for your dear life, 16 points ahead, but it's a tight one, Brad.
Yeah, absolutely. David Reagan's had a strong car. But going back to Jeff Gordon, I mean, he had a great starting spot. We expected so much from him. Clint Boyer's had a decent run tonight, and we keep forgetting about Matt Kenseth. He has just been the guy who's been able to stay in this thing quietly and do his own thing. He's 98 points back, so you know there's a lot going on, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
So as they run right now, we could have as many as 8 spots basically locked up starting Richmond just by taking the green flag there, but those others stuck, they're very much still in play.
They are indeed, Alan, and the big concern is with Clint Boyer won at Richmond back in the spring, and so David Reagan would like to be able to have a little bit of a cushion over a guy he knows that's won there, although Reagan has run extremely well at Richmond last fall. Speaking of Clint Boyer, let's listen into some radio communications about what the strategy involved with pit stops.
If we stay on lead a lap, it's just going to put us at the tail end behind those guys. I mean, I think we're better off being up there, isn't it?
I don't know. I mean, just 5 cars.
Say, come on, let's just outrun the 9 and the 6, and it doesn't matter.
That's Gil Martin, the crew chief. He was just saying, you know, he didn't want to try to stay out there and lead a lap because you lose too many spots on the track. Let's just race these guys. Talk about racing. Look at these guys. Watching Kyle Busch, this is probably the best run he's had so far. But he doesn't. It seems like the more they run, the worse he is. And I saw some smoke coming out from the front of his car where that splitter's hitting the ground pretty hard. I don't know if that's hurt him or not.
Yeah, that's 8th and 9th. Basically, Kyle Busch is 7th, Kenseth 8th, and Kane 9th. Matt Kenseth understands he has been in the chase all 4 years, and we asked him about the pressure of having to get in the chase each year.
There is pressure, but I don't really put any extra pressure on the team or myself or any of that. You know, the points pay the same from Daytona all the way to Richmond, so you try to do your best you can every week and not necessarily worry about the points, just worry about things you can control, how fast your car runs, you know, finish as high as you can, do that type of stuff.
And just focus on the fundamentals. The points kind of take care of themselves.
Yeah, that's really easy to say, and I'm sure that he doesn't put any more pressure, but as you heard him say, there is pressure. There's a lot of pressure there, and you know that you have to do all the right things. His pit crew does an outstanding job week in and week out, and you know, it looks like that they're able to make it to the chase. We see Casey Kane right there. It looks like his car is really struggling right now, probably more than what we've seen. Even though he goes by Kyle Busch right there, he looks like he has his hand full. Dave?
DJ talked to his crew chief, Kenny Francis, this morning about what this track would do at night. He told me Casey thinks it's going to tighten up, but I remember back to our win when we swept the weekend in 2006. Our car went loose all night long, and that's what he's been battling. Again, getting into that corner just too loose in. Kyle has a shot down to the inside, so that's what they're battling, continuing to battle that loose race car. Shannon?
Yeah, Dave, Kyle Busch restarted 10th. He's worked his way up to 8th, but he starts out good on these runs, and then the car starts to go away. He says it feels sideways. You know, I spoke with his crew chief, Steve Addington, this morning. I asked him which races in the chase is he most concerned about. He told me all of them. He said everybody on this racetrack is starting to catch up. We cannot overestimate what they're capable of. We have to know that the chase is not over until Homestead.
So try not to get too overconfident, in other words. But hey, guys won 8 races this year, and he and Carl Edwards have won combined 14 of the 24.
We talked about how many times, Andy, we talked about him, as you can see him get loose right there. He and Carl Edwards able to drive their cars a little more sideways than others. If he's saying it's sideways,
she's pretty loose.
That's pretty serious, isn't it?
You better be working on that car.
47 laps to go, and again, Kyle Busch hasn't led tonight. But this guy here, the 48 car, Jimmie Johnson, oh my, 183 laps. Total domination by Jimmie Johnson at Auto Club Speedway of Southern California. Let's check out our Allstate Good Hands move of the race and show you that when Jimmie Johnson needed to get it done, he could just mash that throttle and just sail right by him.
It's on the restart where everybody had 2 tires at that time. Went by on the high side there. See him going on the outside of Carl Edwards here a little later on.
This was a fair fight right here. Both these cars had 4 tires on after a restart. Jimmie still just drives right on by.
On behalf of Jimmie Johnson, Allstate will donate $1,000 to the Urban Youth Racing School as our Allstate Good Hands Move of the Race Award winner.
Now, there's one car still running in the 42-second bracket. It's not hard to figure out who that is.
Side-by-side action here for 16th spot, Jeff Burton in 16th. Brian Vickers in the 83, back in 17th. And in front of these two is David Reagan, who's having another solid run in the top 15 and is hung there right behind Jeff Gordon.
Still 19 points out of that transfer spot to get in the chase, the way they run right now.
I'm sure after Michigan, they were hoping for a little bit better result here than what they did there. I mean, 2 tires at the end of that race, even though they ran solid all day, as we see Vickers and Burton still battling here. But talking about David Reagan, he got 2 tires late in that race and got him up in the top 5. I'm not sure they're going to be able to employ that kind of strategy here tonight. Dave, what's going on with Jeff Burton?
A very, very loose race car. Crew Chief Scott Miller said today, as long as we don't have a disaster, we can roll into Richmond with some confidence. I'm not sure where to put this. He's been out of the top 15 most of the night. They've had difficulty tuning on this race car, and even at this late stage, it's very difficult for Jeff to drive. Disaster, or maybe not quite?
Well, he can avoid disaster if he'll not wreck this thing, but you can see he's got it so loose a few times that he's been close to wrecking it. He can hang right there. That's not a disaster, but it's not what they're looking for a finish.
I watched him yesterday in practice, and I thought that he really had a solid race car, and that he may be one of the people up in the top 5 challenging to win this race tonight.
I'll tell you, that's just one of the things we've seen is how these cars get looser and looser during the weekend, and even after final practice, these guys, I'm hearing that they get looser as the race starts, and even during the race.
Kyle Busch being shown in 9th position. There's the 18 car. 8-time winner this year.
You see this 18 car, and I've seen this car like it's got a little more roll to it, and you see the brakes glowing right there. It means you have to slow the car down a lot getting in the corner. You're struggling with a lot of things here. You see how it just rolls over just a little bit on that right front. You've seen smoke quite a few times getting in the corner off of that splitter.
Everything he possibly can tonight. He's working with a car that's been extremely loose, but he's fought it all night. He's tried everything that he possibly can. He's tried to use aerodynamics, everything he can possibly do to make this some kind of a good night. You see him here actually get in that target zone in the green there. He's actually buck drafting Casey Kane down the straightaway here. Backs off a little bit early into the corner, then gets down and gets some fresh air on that nose. You can see here. All right, he's got the air going over the car right here. It sucked him up to that car, to the 9 car right in front. Drops back a little bit. Now he's out of that dirty air. He's got fresh air on the front of the nose, and he was able to make the pass then. Since then, Casey Kane has gone back by him. And you see Ryan Newman trying to come up and take this spot away from him. It just seems that we heard him say the longer that he runs, the worse his car gets. It's a good example of trying to how you use it. Wow, he's just fighting this race car, but using the air to your advantage as much as you can. Down the straightaway, he was able to pull up, and then as he got to the corner, he got out and got that clean air on the nose of his car.
You see Newman going all the way to the bottom of the racetrack. Clint Boyer, by the way, down there behind Newman, also trying to move in on Kyle Busch. What should be the final pit stop of the day if we stay green coming up just in a few laps? Jimmie Johnson has led 193 of 213 laps back in just a moment.
The Pepsi 500 at California is brought to you by Pepsi. Go to PepsiRacing.com for a chance to travel like a star to next year's Pepsi 500. By Coors Light. Get Coors Light pole position alerts on your cell phone. Just text pole to 42100. By Toyota. Moving forward. And by Aflac. Ask about it at work. .33 laps to go. Jimmie Johnson's opened up a big lead again. I just was thinking here. And here comes the caution. Caution is out for the 8th time tonight, just before final pit stops were scheduled to happen. What's going on out there, Doc?
33 laps to go, and the yellow is waving. We are watching. We didn't see anybody spin. We're watching to see if NASCAR is talking about debris on the racetrack. We'd
heard somebody say there was somebody against the wall in 3 and 4, but we didn't see it.
We didn't see that someone may have touched it and come off the wall, but NASCAR has those spotters, and they see something come off a car. They just say, put it out. And as yet, they have not identified. But in any event, these cars will be able to make their final stop. And now we are being told that the 21 of Marcos Ambrose has bounced it off the wall. Scraped up a Little Debbie signage on the side of that Ford. But kept going, so that's why no one was able to see it. But one of the NASCAR spotters did say, yeah, there's the damage on the right side.
Yeah, he's got up against it pretty good.
Show you Marcus here, the top right side of the frame. You see him coming in there. He's already against the wall. Still able to make the turn coming off the corner. Didn't hammer it hard, but had it hit hard enough at these speeds to damage the sheet metal and what we call pancake the right side.
And if that wasn't one of the grooves that these guys use, you might not be so bad. But these guys have been running up against the wall all night. And he's certainly one of many that had a chance to hit the wall today. These guys getting fired up on pit road. They know their chance to get it is right here. If they can beat the 48 out,
their last shot.
They're going to keep him behind him.
It's the last shot they're going to have at him tonight.
And we've already seen these guys make one mistake. They rarely make a mistake, talking about the Lowe's crew.
One more time.
Here they come, 55, what should be the final stop down in Kevin Harvick's pit. Jamie.
Richard Childress Racing has never won here at this racetrack. Kevin Harvick hopes to change that tonight. Small air pressure adjustment. He says he's just a tick too loose at both ends. 4 tires and fuel for Kevin Harvick. Dave?
Denny Hamlin was asked if the last changes helped. He said, yeah, I was really able to get aggressive with the throttle. Same thing, air and wedge again. Mike.
Greg Irwin with a little bit of a pep talk for his 16 over-the-wall team, saying we're not going to get beat by the 48 team. They go to work on the right side of that car. The car just a little bit tight. They'll try to free it up with an air pressure adjustment. Meanwhile, the same type of changes on the 48 we've seen all night. They go to work on the track bar. A 4-tire change, he's off the jacks. A tight race off pit road. And give it to Biffle, but I think by just a smidge.
Yeah, we got him.
Third time now that
About
Biffle.
the best night I've ever seen on pit road. That is super.
Well, confidence is everything. He says, we're not going to get beat, and they didn't. Great pit stop.
Watch these guys. They know they got it done. Look at the high fives.
That's right, guys. Good job.
So we're going to do our job. There is Biffle coming off. Watch the 48 Joe by half a car length. He said, we got you out there now. Greg, you just got to hang there for these final 31 laps.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our loyal fans for your continued support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.
Next Saturday night, we head to Richmond, Virginia for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series Chevy Rock and Roll 400. Live coverage beginning with NASCAR Countdown Saturday, 7 o'clock Eastern Time, then 400 laps. And by the way, the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series debut of the 18-year-old phenom Joey Logano will make his debut driving a Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota number 02 with Home Depot on it. It'll be a reverse color scheme. It'll be primarily white with orange. And, of course, he will run that car there as well as Atlanta. We are also told he will run 5 more times this year, driving the 96 car in New Hampshire, Charlotte, Texas, Martinsville, and Kansas. So a lot happening at Richmond next Saturday night.
He'll be busy.
16 and the 48. Most of the night it's been the 48, then the 16. But I tell you what, if Greg Biffle doesn't win this race, it will not be because those guys on pit road haven't done their job.
They surely have. They've done a great job on pit road, getting him out in front when it counts right here. If they've got a good enough car and Greg stays up on the wheel, he might have a chance. He's got his work cut out for it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Johnson just had such a great car all night. We'll see how that works out. We now have 22 cars on the lead lap. Mark Truex with the free pass there after some troubles they had with the loose wheel earlier in the race. They're back on the lead lap now. But this is going to be interesting. Biffle, we know, is going to give it everything. He's the type driver that'll stick it out there and make it as wide as he can.
When your guys give you a stop like that, put you out front, it's got to give you a lot of confidence too.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, it makes you want to just drive it a little extra harder and see what you got for it. You know, things have cooled off. You got the most grip in the racetrack you've had all night. These are going to be the fastest laps these guys have turned in this entire race coming up right here.
Greg Biffle got to be hungry. He hasn't been to victory lane since Kansas in September of 2007, 31 races ago. How badly does he want it? Got to believe that whole team would like to be able to end that streak here tonight.
Green flag.
.28 laps on a 2-mile oval here in Southern California, Fontana.
Man, Jimmie Johnson got such a run right there. Wow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 113, 114, 115, 116, 117, 118, 119, Biffle driving it for everything it's worth, though.
He is hanging on. He didn't leave anything off that corner. Drives it down deep into turn 3.
Yeah, Johnson got that a little early, got it turned and underneath him. It worked for three-quarters of a lap.
Clear. Awesome.
Wow, wow.
You're driving.
That's what Greg Biffle had to say before they went back to green.
It's hard to beat him from that 6th box, that first box. That's unbelievable, guys. Unbelievable. I certainly got my work cut out for me having a car half a second faster lap behind me. Trying to hold him off for 30 laps.
He knew what he was up against.
Yeah, a little chuckle there from Greg.
Here we go, 3 wide.
Oh, here we go.
Here's the 6 in the 07.
Yeah, this is chase contenders here. This is very important. The 07 Clint Boyer is 12th in the chase. The 6 is trying to get in. He's 11 points back.
You're going to see these guys driving just as hard as those guys racing for the win.
Got all kinds of things happening.
Yeah, the Montoya almost got into the side of the Earnhardt Jr., and there's Burton back there trying to find a way between Montoya and Earnhardt.
Dave Blaney down the apron making a pass of Michael Waltrip.
Riding with Jeff Gordon right here. A.J. Allmendinger on the outside.
I said it'd be interesting to see how Allmendinger and his crew could keep up with the racetrack starting up front. They're still in 17th. It's been a good, solid night. Not exactly what they were looking for, but another good run. You see his teammate Brian Vickers going to the low side here. Look at, saw the 12 car. He had all 4 tires down on the apron there.
Yeah, he was headed to San Diego. He was almost on the grass. Now he pulls up right beside the 6. 29 and 99, Harvick and Edwards for 4th position.
These guys have been solid all night. You see Carl's car dancing a little bit there.
Here comes Harvick. Got a good run there. Good bite off the corner.
Kenseth coming in. There's the 17 car.
Carl really struggling this run.
And he seemed to struggle on new tires right after the restart. His car seems to be better after they run a little while. It's like Matt let him in down the bottom so he could try to get by the 2, but he's struggling right there in the center. You saw he couldn't get back to the throttle, and here goes Matt on the inside of the 99 of Carl Edwards.
The 2 car, by the way, Kurt Busch is 2 laps down, and you saw the 26 of McMurray. He is a lap down in 24th position. Teammates again battling side by side.
Kevin Harvick just drove away from these guys. The 4th spot, letting these guys fight over 5th.
Yeah, Harvick came like a rocket at the beginning of this race. See Jeff Gordon in a spot that he does not want to be in.
No, and he thinks better of it too.
That is 16th and 17th, and Gordon gets out of that fray.
Where he's sitting, he's only 96 clear of that 12th spot, and he can't take a chance right there.
Yeah, if he falls out of this race, I mean, it could really make him have to race at Richmond a little differently.
We told you the 18 was having a very atypical night, but now he is starting to catch fire a little bit here with less than 25 laps to go. The 18 car moving in, 7th spot, and starting to move in on the 99 of Carl Edwards.
I don't think it's because he can see that 99 up there. It's got a little extra steam.
A little motivation.
I think there's a little history there.
That's not what it has been. We've normally been racing for first here, but they are battling, solid runs, but obviously not in the category of being able to contend for the win tonight.
Not nobody else, but Jimmie Johnson's in that category. Shannon?
Yeah, of course, last night a very different story for Kyle Busch. He led most of that lap, all the laps in the race last night, the nationwide race. Of course, Steve Addington was on top of the pit box for Kyle Busch last night. You know, when it came time to go to victory lane, Steve Addington went, said congratulations to everybody, and then he disappeared. He didn't even take pictures with the crew, and I asked him why this morning. He said, that was the deal, those guys' deal. That was the nationwide. I was up there for support, called some of the shots, but I wanted to let them have their glory. Guys?
Well, indeed they did, Shannon. They led 144 of 150 laps. Now here's the 6 car, and just like in Michigan, late in the Michigan race, he seems to be dialed in and making some moves here.
Found a little something up top there. It looks like his car is getting a lot of grip, and he's starting to pass some of these guys. He needs to get up there and pass that 07. That's what he's focused on right now.
Yeah, he's been pretty much committed to that high line. You see Ryan Newman's taking it away from him right now. See Dale Jr. down the bottom. The 83 of Brian Vickers sideways in the middle.
Yeah, Earnhardt Jr. and the 12, that's for position, by the way. If he can get by the 12 car and the 88, he would gain 2 spots, and that would put him right behind Boyer in 11th position.
You see a little wiggle out of his car right there. Brian Vickers down on the apron, making a pass of both of those cars through turns 3 and 4. Here comes the 84 of A.J. Allmendinger. So actually, the 6 car's losing some spots here. Since we've been watching this, he's lost. If the 84 gets by him, that'll be 4 spots, and that adds up to 12 points. Have to try to regroup here as much as he can. Again, it looks like his car's not as good right after a restart, so maybe, you know, even though there's only 20 laps to go, some of these guys might have some problems as far as handling goes, and he can make up some of that time before the end of this race.
It is Jimmie Johnson at the front of the field. We are inside of 20 to go now, 19 laps to go here in Fontana, California. Jimmie, who won this race last fall from the outside of the front row. There's the 29 of Kevin Harvick now being shown in the 4th position. Jamie.
Well, Doc, Kevin Harvick over the last 6 races has been the front runner for Richard Childress Racing. He's gone from 13th to 8th in the points, and the reason being, I asked Todd Barrier's crew chief, and he said, we're getting to the point with these new cars, these guys are starting to pick their favorites, what they used to call the workhorse. Well, in 4 of the last 6 races, Kevin Harvick has run this same car he's running here tonight. He's had 3 top 10 finishes. Now, Todd told me he wanted to bring a brand new car here, but Kevin said, no way. I want that workhorse. I know how it feels, and I'm comfortable in it.
Jamie, you're exactly right. He finished 3rd at Chicago, led in 4th, 6th, 8th, and 4th the last 4 times out. Now, up front.
Biffle's been catching Jimmie here the last few laps, watching his lap times. He's knocking it about a half a tenth a lap off.
You know, we heard him talking about making some adjustments to that 48 and trying to keep up with the racetrack and things, so I don't know how much they adjusted there, but Biffle made the right adjustment.
Hey, Chad down there too. Front, they're running 260 right now.
Well, he's got some trash on the grill, and that's helping put some more downforce on there. That's actually good news. 260 is tolerable. They don't have but 17 laps to go. This might actually work out for Biffle.
Yeah, it might. He's pretty happy with the balance of the race car now, Andy. That's for sure. It's just he's got some sort of problem today. This is the 2nd time that he's collected a little bit of trash on the grill. And, you know, the first time the temperatures went up to 145, now up to 160. But as you say, may not be a problem.
It's actually 260, but that's okay. I know that's not something you'd want to hear halfway through the race or early in the race. But here, at this point, I say just run it out. 17 laps to go. This is exactly what you need. A little bit of tape on the grill.
Doc said he was hungry. Doc said he was hungry for a win, but he's got Doritos on the front there now. But it's really helping his car. This is the closest anybody's been able to stay, including Greg Biffle, the entire race.
All that hundreds of thousands of dollars in wind tunnel time and 1 bag of Doritos.
And now it's gone. Okay. Now it's going to cool off and slow down.
Yeah, yeah. But now you know, you just slap a bag of Doritos on the front of it and you pick up some speed. Conversation there.
He said, just let us pull up behind there and get that bag off. He says, yeah, right.
He's asking you, Jimmie threw that out the window. He's been so far out front, he had time to eat a bag of chips.
Yeah.
And now, Greg Biffle is not able to make up ground on Jimmie. I think when that bag was on there, it actually really helped the car enough that he made some ground.
Isn't that amazing how much that difference that makes right there? It'd be interesting to hear Greg address that situation of how much the car changed.
Jimmie's actually got a piece on his.
257. It's off. It's off. It's off.
They're talking like that's bad news, but I mean good news, but I swear I believe it's bad news. I think if that had stayed on there, it would have been an advantage.
Go run him down now. He's got him one.
Yeah, and now he's beating him 2/10 a lap.
Yeah.
Where Greg was beating Jimmie Johnson by about a 10th a lap while in. Boy, it only takes a little bit to make a big difference in these race cars. You can see that's the one thing that these guys talk about that they fight, is they have to make these cars so loose trying to turn because they don't have that front downforce. And when they get a little bit of it, man, it makes a big difference. Obviously, you can't blow the engine up, so it's not that simple.
Now they run as much tape on the front of these cars as they dare and keep that temperature down just below where it's going to be, damage to the engine. But here at 14 or 15 laps to go, I'd love to be able to put a piece of tape on that grill. Yeah, or a potato chip bag.
Whatever works.
That is hard to believe. You can put all that money in wind tunnel and all the aerodynamic testing and the new car.
But you need to keep that up. That's spectacular. That's 3/10 better.
That's exactly right. I just saw that. That was 3/10 better than Jimmie Johnson last lap.
And he's got 13 laps to get there.
You wonder if the bag on there has hurt Jimmie Johnson's car any. It looked like, well, of course, it looked like Biffle just, I think he moved his groove around a little bit there, though, and has picked up some speed.
He's found something here. Let's see if he can keep it going. Sometimes you can find something for a lap, but you can't keep it going.
Yeah. He used up a lot of racetrack. I would have to say that Jimmie pulled away right here on this lap before we get back.
Try it again. I'll get him.
Yeah, he lost a half a second that lap, 4:10.
Yeah. As a driver, you're not exactly sure where you made up that 3/10s that you ran. Sometimes you get a little bit of a feel, but then you try a little bit harder to do that and get a little bit more of it, and there you
greedy.
lose. Yeah, exactly.
He's got to get greedy right here. He's got 12 laps to get it done. He's just, I guess at this point, you're just focused on the back bumper of that car, or you actually just watching racing the racetrack. You really look at that guy.
Yeah, you use him as a judge a little bit, but you're so focused on the racetrack and looking at what your car's doing and just how much can you get. But he's obviously seeing now. It's really easy to see when you lose a little bit of it, and that gets a little bit frustrating at that time.
260.
I tell him, quit looking at that gauge. Let's race. Nothing we can do about it.
Jimmie Johnson wanted to make a statement after the disappointment a week ago at Bristol. And also they wanted to dedicate this race to the memory of the son of a man who was a major player in bringing Lowe's into the sport of auto racing. Rick Hendrick called me before the race today and said, that one of their close friends, Bob Gafella from Lowe's in Winston-Salem, lost his son in a football accident on Friday night. His 15-year-old son, and they've all been thinking about him. And Rick said, if we can pull it off tonight, we're going to dedicate this race to that young man's memory and all that Bob has done for our Lowe's team and for Hendrick Motorsports.
If we got a 10th that lap. Running out of time, though.
And Biffle, DJ, is doing everything. He's using every inch of racetrack he can find.
Yeah, he's just letting that car roll as fast as he possibly can, trying to get back to the gas as quick as he can. The problem is Jimmie Johnson's car is just so fast. He's been able, after he runs about 10 laps, he goes right to this groove right here, kind of in the middle. He's not all the way at the top, right in the middle, gets his car turned and able to carry a lot of speed off the corner. Looks like Biffle gained a little bit right there as he went through the corner, going the shorter way, but then Jimmie makes it up down the straightaway.
Boy, as competitive as this sport is, how often, I can't remember on one hand how many times I've seen a driver have the other 42 cars covered like Jimmie Johnson has tonight.
And be able to complete it, go all the way to the end. Obviously, we still have 9 laps to go, so anything can happen. But on a racetrack this size, you just don't see this happening very much with the level of competition that we have this day and time.
Check on our chase contenders, our chase chasers. There is David Reagan trying to hold on to position number 13, Allmendinger. Behind him in 14th spot. Right now, Reagan would be showing 17 points back of Clint Boyer. Casey Kane 48 back, although Kane is running better than the other two. He needs to get more if he's going to gain some more points tonight.
Yeah, that might look kind of innocent there, but that's 3 valuable points that David Reagan is racing A.J. Allmendinger hard for right at that point in time. David Reagan's right there on that. His teammate, Matt Kenseth, who was sitting way outside the top 12 at one point in time this year, has worked his way up to 5th in this race and got himself pretty solid now. It looks like he's going to be in the chase. He's plus 109 points at this point in time in 9th spot for the chase. So great comeback by that race team.
You have to lead here, 196 points ahead of 13th. We've already mentioned that Jimmie Johnson is locked in, Dale Earnhardt Jr. There is the 17 car of Kenseth.
Yeah, been kind of a Matt Kenseth race, kind of quiet, moved his way up early in the race and then just kind of settled in, doing what he needs to do, and sitting here in 5th spot right now, just ahead of Carl Edwards.
7 laps to go for Jimmie Johnson.
Yeah, man, I can't catch him. Just beat me too bad at 3 and 4.
Denny Hamlin trying to get a second consecutive third-place finish.
A really good run for this team. Another team, we keep talking about all these guys needing good runs, and they've stepped up to the plate. Mike Ford and Denny Hamlin have done the job here, and this is going to go a long way towards getting themselves in the chase.
He's 11th in the point standings, talking about Hamlin. And that would put him about 75 to 80 points in front of the 07 car in 12th place.
Look how hard Greg Biff was driving his car trying to catch Jimmie Johnson.
Oh, I can't do that again. I can't run up there.
That's good stuff there. He's been out there.
He's in second place, bud.
Been out there for 3.5 hours and still has a little sense of humor in driving the wheels off of it.
Look at him go all the way up across the racetrack. He's down on the white line in part of the corner.
Never give up. 5 laps to go.
I can remember when our good old buddy, the late Benny Parsons, first saw Greg Biffle running winter heat in Tucson on ESPN. He said, and what impressed Benny was just what we saw a moment ago, that Biffle used every inch of racetrack and did whatever he could to drive the wheels of that car from lap 1 to lap 100 that night, and somehow managed to pass cars that were a lot better than him.
He drove for me a few races in his rookie season in this division, and he used up more than the racetrack. He'd use up the right side of my car up against that wall.
Jimmie Johnson trying to hold on for 5 more laps. It has been the kind of night that drivers dream of. Mike.
And, Doc, I think you mentioned earlier that he may be serving notice, and that may be the case. You know, as the chase begins to shape up, it's only natural for teams to start sizing themselves up against the competition. And when it comes to the 48 team, they are not intimidated by anyone. I spoke with Chad Knaus a little bit earlier this week, and he says, hey, we beat the 24 team last year, a team that ended the season with a record 30 top 10 finishes. He says that battle was brutal, and it's given them the confidence to believe they can beat anyone, no matter how good a season they're having. In particular, he was referencing the 18 and the 99. They feel like they've got a legitimate shot at 3 championships in a row, and they look pretty good tonight.
Mike, you can count on one finger the number of drivers in the 60-year history of NASCAR that have won 3 consecutive Cup titles in a row. The only one to do it was Cale Yarborough.
Tough competitor in his time, no doubt. And Jimmie Johnson is at this day and time. And I think as we see A.J. Allmendinger finally taking that spot away from David Reagan and those 3 points that Reagan needed.
Back to 20th position and back to 20 points. Back to 20 points behind. They back up, start 14th position, back to 20 points behind. And these positions are important for A.J. Allmendinger because of the fact he is trying to get this car in the top 35 in point standings.
I think he's done that pretty solidly. Right now, as the owner's points sit, Robbie Gordon is in that 35th spot. Michael Waltrip 34th.
2 laps to go for Jimmie Johnson to pick up his 3rd win in 2008. And what has impressed me as much as what he's done on the racetrack is what Chad Knaus and these guys have done behind the wall. Despite the fact they had the car that had everybody covered, every time they came in, they would go outside the envelope and make an adjustment to try to get the car better.
Well, you can't sit there and be too careful with this. You have a good race car. You can't let those guys catch up. I think everybody in this sport's done that at some point in time, and Chad Knaus wasn't going to let that happen tonight with this race car and this race team.
Jimmie Johnson began the week coming out to his hometown of El Cajon. He wanted to give back his 2nd annual golf tournament to raise money, $500,000 for the Habitat for Humanity to build homes for people who didn't have them. They handed the keys, he and wife Shandy, to a young single mom who had 3 children who didn't have a place to live. But tonight, at this racetrack, it was time for Jimmie Johnson to take back the lead point as the top contender for the 2008 Chase Championship. Jimmie Johnson takes the win.
Great work, boys. That's the way we roll.
Excited as they should
Back
be.
in the day. Great job, buddy. Great job. What a way to end the week.
Kyle Busch still fighting for this spot. He's going to beat Casey Kane to the line.
Casey Kane didn't need that to happen. That's just some points again. We keep pointing that out, but that cost him a couple of points right there.
That was 7th spot.
Yeah. Hamlin was 3rd, Harvick 4th, Kansas 5th, Edwards.
There's Rick Hendrick and Chad Knaus, the boss, giving them all a hug, and these guys, well-deserved effort down there.
Dominating effort.
Kyle Busch was actually in that spot where Casey Kane was trying to take it away there. We see Casey had just made the pass on him.
Out of control. Still beats him to the line.
And got the spot back. How about that? Sideways coming out of the turn and got the spot back.
Clint Boyer ending up with the top 10. David Rudeman, a great run, finishing 9th tonight. That was a team that really needed a solid run like that. Dale Jr. 11th. You see Jimmie Johnson spinning down in the infield here.
Yeah, 48 team own this race tonight.
This will be a night that Jimmie Johnson will remember for a long time. He got his very first NASCAR Sprint Cup victory at this racetrack in 2002. And now 33 races and 2 championships later, he comes back to the home track and just dominates.
Mentioned all the good things that they were doing in the San Diego area. That's very important to Jimmie and his wife, that they can do things. And you know, my dad told me something a long time ago. Good things happen to good people. So I guess something pretty good happened to him. Shannon?
Yeah, guys, as you just said, they owned this racetrack, but still, you guys adjusted every time you came down pit road. What was it like chasing this track here tonight?
It was a little bit tough, you know. As the sun started to set, the track really started to get a lot more grip. I think you could see the speeds on the timing and scoring were picking up, so you had to adjust the car because as you're getting faster into the corner, it was definitely getting tighter. But yeah, I can't say enough about this whole Hendrick Motorsports organization, the engine shop, the chassis shop. Jimmie is switched on right now. Our pit crew did a great job, and you know, this is the same car we won with at Indianapolis, so I'm real proud of that. You know, it's a special weekend for us, obviously, with the Jimmie Johnson Foundation and Paula SS out there. And, you know, Bob Gefeller and the Gefeller family, who are very big supporters of us. Bob is Vice President of Marketing at Lowe's. And they lost their son, Matt, about a week ago. And that was a big tragedy, and we all hurt for that. And, you know, this wins for the Gefellers. And thank you for your support.
And this certainly will be an emotional win for this team, guys.
Jimmie Johnson, you heard the crowd. They know he's a California kid, one of 7 California drivers. They are very proud of what this young man has done with a career in NASCAR. Jamie.
And Greg Biffle just climbed out of the race car. And what a night it was for you. Greg, we heard a lot of your radio communication, but where do you feel like that 48 car was beating you guys?
Well, I think he was beating me down at 3 and 4. I could tell he had more grip up off the corners where he's beating me, and I elected to go with a little bit different front end setup that turned a little bit better, and it kind of bit me. The 48 was better than we were, but man, these guys in this car, unbelievable. I feel bad I let my pit crew down. Those guys are unbelievable. Just we're getting that close. If it's not the 18 beating our pants, it's a 48. But the 3 and 4 Fusion, these guys in the pits, just a great job.
Great run for you tonight. Greg Biffle now moves up 1 spot to 6th in the points. Dave?
And Clint Boyer with that strong run tonight. He is still 12th in the points, good by 17 points right now. You called that a step in the right direction, Clint.
Yeah, definitely a step in the right direction. Gil and all the guys in Jack Championship. We're getting better on these big tracks. Just got to, inch forward on it. I've really been working hard, and, I'm proud of the 10th place finish, but we got to get better. Still in it.
Look forward to next week. What do you expect?
Oh, it's going to be a battle right down to the end. Anything can happen at Richmond, but, nonetheless, there's a little bit of confidence knowing you come off a win there.
All right, thanks, Clint. Jamie?
And Denny Hamlin remains 11th in the points, 3rd for the 2nd week in a row. Denny, how was this run for you guys tonight?
That was a great run. A lot of those guys had good runs too, just like Bristol. But it's a great run for this whole FedEx Ground team. We're working hard. Pit crew was just unbelievable today. They had to be the fastest pit crew on average all day. So they kept me out there, kept me in good track position, and Mike did great adjustments on the car, so I couldn't be prouder.
Denny Hamlin, smile on his face. We're going to Richmond, his home track, next weekend, Doc.
Back-to-back top 3 finishes for Denny Hamlin. Take a look at the point standings. We have 5 drivers locked in now in the chase. 7 more in question, and Greg Biffle should clinch when he heads, when he starts at Richmond next Saturday night. Great effort for Biffle. And Clint Boyer, we talked to him. He gained 5 points, valuable points. He was up by 12. Now he's up by 17. But it's going to be hold your breath time for those guys toward the bottom, particularly when we go for 400 laps at Richmond.
Yeah, it's hard, close racing there, so none of these guys can really breathe. Biff will obviously get there, start, and he'll be in, but be an exciting night for us.
By the way, guys that are not eliminated, David Reagan's still a factor. Casey Kane only 48 points back, and Brian Vickers, by the way, has an outside shot mathematically of getting there at Richmond. He's going to need some help from some other guys to have some trouble early on. Here is a guy who had no trouble whatsoever. Jimmie Johnson, 32 years of age, back-to-back Cup Series titles. There's wife Shandy coming down to give him a big kiss. Home track, hometown fans, and a night to remember.
And the confetti is raining down on the Golden State Warrior, a man who grew up not too far from here in El Cajon, California. Your 3rd victory here in California. What does it mean for you to win in this particular city?
It's amazing to have the fan base that I do here and the fans that support us and what we do. Means the world to me. To be here in my home state, the foundation on the side of the car. This is just an awesome race, and to do it with style like that and have the dominant car all night long. And the longest it took me to do anything tonight was get out of the car, so I apologize for that. But it's a big credit to the hard work that has been going into this race team and trying to get our stuff where it needs to be. And these guys have been working hard, and it's been paying off, and tonight was showing to that. So it's a great performance.
All the talk recently has revolved around the 18 and the 99. Yet you're the 2-time defending champion. Do you feel like you're peaking at the right time and can defend this title and win 3 in a row?
We're doing the right things, and those guys have been getting the credit that they deserve. They've been on par, they've been kicking butt and winning races, and the only way we can be a part of that is to go out and do that, and we've done that tonight. So just very happy. I want to thank the fans for their support and being involved in watching NASCAR on a special weekend, and also want to say our hearts and thoughts are still out with the Goodfeller family with the tragedy they had last week. So here we go. Let's get it going.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Jimmie Johnson picking up his 3rd victory this season, and more importantly, Doc, putting some more bonus points on the board.
Jimmie Johnson leads 227 of 250 laps. Let's go down to Jamie, who's caught up with Kevin Harvick.
Well, I talked to Top Barrier's crew chief, and he told me, well, starting the back's a good thing because Kevin needs rabbits to chase. Talk about your battle going from back to front, finishing top 5 once again.
I tell you, our Shell Pennzoil Chevrolet was really good tonight at the beginning of the race, and we were able to get through traffic when it seemed like a few other guys were struggling. But they just did a great job. The best the car was the last run tonight, and then that's quite an accomplishment for us. Usually I either tune it out or, we get caught doing something wrong. But over the last few weeks, we've been on a roll, and it seems like we're peaking at the right time.
It was all about air pressure adjustments tonight and a good pit crew. He moves up 1 spot in the points to 7th. Doc?
Great effort for Harvick again. I mean, this team really putting these top 5s back to back to back. And so, folks, it's all about peaking at the right time. And, Kev, we talked about Jimmie Johnson's effort. Kevin Harvick coming along with these top 5 finishes.
Yeah, and you just look at what Jimmie Johnson did in the chase last year. He won so many races. He set the bar so high. I see this team actually turning this thing around and being just that good again in the chase.
Yeah, they've done a great job. And another guy that did a great job was Matt Kenseth. Shannon?
Down here with Matt Kenseth, just talking about the race. A lot of guys were struggling with the handling of their car, just chasing this racetrack. What was the race like for you tonight?
Yeah, these things are always a struggle. It's always hard to get them right. So we were pretty much fought loose all day, kind of like we did at Michigan, but we were too loose the whole time, but we had more grip while we were loose. So we were able to get better at the end. We had great pit stops, and that was, I think, the highest we ran all night. So it was a good time to be up there.
Now, looking forward, can you take anything from this race here tonight that you might be able to use in those last 10 races during the chase?
Well, I hope so. I mean, first we got to get in. I'm not sure if we are or not, so we got to do that first. I hope we learned some stuff. We had a really good happy hour. I thought Chip and I were able to talk about a lot of stuff together and get the stuff running a little bit better. We hit on a couple things that seemed to help our car, and Greg was real fast tonight, and so was Carl. So I hope so.
All right, Matt Kenseth.
Thank you very much. Rick Hendrick tonight collects his 171st win as an owner at Hendrick Motorsports. So his first win coming way back in April 1984 with Jeffrey Bodine. And now tonight, Jimmie Johnson picks up his 3rd win of the season. What an effort. Johnson, his 35th win, puts him 17th all-time in the win list, passing Mark Martin. And he becomes the first driver ever in 16, now make it 17 races, to win from the pole here at this Auto Club of Southern California Speedway. Let's go down to Jamie, who's caught up with David Reagan.
David Reagan, of course, all the media talking to him now. David, 13th place run tonight. How are you feeling now about your chances to get in the chase?
You know, we're about in the same position we were headed into California. The bottom line is we just got to outrun those 7 and the 9, possibly even the 11 and some of those guys to get in. We didn't do it tonight. We're fortunate that that they didn't have a great night. We were all kind of right there in the top 10 or 20. So, you know, we're just in the same boat. We've got to go outrun everybody next week.
You're only 17 points back, headed to Michigan. What are your thoughts?
You know, that's better than 20 or 25, but not as good as 10 or 5. So we just got to go and, you know, do what we've been doing. We've got to have some more speed. You know, we didn't have the most fastest car on the racetrack today. Our AAA team never gave up. We kept working on it. But the bottom line is we've got to qualify good, race good, not have any trouble next week to make the chase.
All right, guys, and that is Richmond. We're going to a short track next weekend. Doc?
Rock and Roll 400, and it's going to be rocking when we get to Richmond, Virginia next Saturday night. And still some positions. Greg Biffle should be able to clinch. That guy's already clinched. NASCAR Nationwide action coming your way over on ESPN2 on Friday at 7:30 Eastern time. And then on ABC at 7 o'clock. Guys, we're going to turn them loose and see who's going to be in the chase and who's going to have that momentum headed to New Hampshire.
You know what's going to be cool about it? There's so many of these guys that have clinched, and they can just go out there and race for the win. They're racing for fun and to get those bonus points. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, it is going to be. Guys from 8th on up are in pretty good shape, but from night back, with where Matt Kenseth is, they can't rest easy at all. It's going to be very interesting.
Going to be very exciting next Saturday night, Alan.
9 drivers for 6 spots when we head to Richmond next Saturday night, where if you get bumped and turned around in that short track race on the first lap and you have a bad finish, your whole season could get turned inside out in just a moment. Jimmie Johnson, got to put the period on this night. We started the night with him sitting down there next to you, Brad, telling us about that they wanted to make basically a statement, not paraphrasing, but they wanted to come out and show everybody, hey, we're here, we're ready, we're for real.
They really did do that. There's no doubt about that. This team always seems, Brad, to be a second-half team. Yep. And today he had a lot of confidence when he was on NASCAR Countdown, talking about his chances. He dominated Indy, dominated the day. These guys are back in a legitimate contender.
Yeah, you called that and said they're a second-half team, and I'll tell you what, if I am Carl Edwards or Kyle Busch, who've dominated this year, and I see what Jimmie Johnson did today, and that spark in his eye, I'm a little bit nervous because the two-time heavyweight champ is back in business.
Wake-up call has been had, and it's going to be fun watching those 10 races. First, though, we got to figure out who's going to race for the championship. That is next Saturday night in Richmond, and we hope that you will be with us for that. Again, 9 drivers going to race for 6 spots. Dominating performance for Jimmie Johnson tonight here in his native Southern California. What do you say, $18,000 for charity for that helmet? That helmet was worn to a race win. Sports Center is next. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. Don't forget NASCAR Now over on ESPN2 as well.